Hey everybody, you are tuning in to the Canary Cry News Talk live stream pre-stream. It is I, Basil. You'll notice my voice is on the up and up, feeling slightly better with, not without some help. But I think I might actually make it through the entire show. So I want to remind you, head on over to canarycry.party, get all your special resources there. Join that. Let me encourage you to join the newsletter. You get all sorts of great stuff. We just send out an email before every episode, so you have the resources at your fingertips when the episode starts. You'll also get the art and some other wonderful things in that. But while you're at it, go ahead and join the community somewhere. You've got the canarycry.community, which is our non-algoized, non-Facebook social media zone platform for Canarians. We also have the Discord channel if you're more of a chit chatter. So go check those things out, and we highly recommend you do. Those are two channels that you can stay connected not only to other listeners of the show, but if there's some sort of emergency broadcast that needs to be put out, those are great places to receive that. Other than that, same old stuff. A lot of great things going on. We are making progress on future-proofing. We might talk about that more during the show. But stay tuned, folks. Stay hydrated. Let's get this party started.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is October 28th, 2022. We are live to tape on episode 553. And today, Elongelical and Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil.
And my name is Gonz, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, a.k.a. the Cabana Boy, live from California, here to serve you a podcast that brings you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And today's immersion phenomenon is birthdays.
Oh.
Birthdays.
Okay.
Lots of birth happening in these days, Basil.
Okay, yeah, sure. And you're putting a lot of emphasis on this here, as I'm sure we're going to get an explanation.
Sure. Well, we had your birthday exactly a week ago, the Basil birthday. And then today is Bill Gates' birthday.
Ah.
Yeah.
And people might know that if they have their Canary Cry calendar from last year.
Right.
I'm sure it's on there. Is it on there? I don't have mine.
It is. He's got a party hat on and everything. Yeah. It's
Make
there.
sure you get your Canary Cry calendar, folks. Sign up for the supply drop at canarycrysupply.com and get a bonus gift of the Canary Cry mixtape volume 1 on cassette tape. Just a little plug there, since that hasn't happened for a while. But okay, what other birthdays do we have?
I'll tell you about it later.
Oh, secret. Oh, it's in the programming, folks. We've got it on the schedule to talk about the birthdays. Yeah. All right. Well, in that case, let me give you a rundown of the show.
Oh, look, here's Basil.
Let me bring you up to speed.
That's right. We're going to start out with our lead stories. Elongelical, folks. It's happening and continues to happen. Elon, he's done it. He's taken over Twitter. I believe today is the first full day of his Twitter reign. And he, of course, some wonderful PR stunts we're going to check out there, as well as pretty dramatic moves on his first day. Then we'll be checking in with Flippy, some more developments when it comes to Western militaries engaging in killbot armaments. We'll be checking in with that, of course. Nancy Pelosi's husband and a hammer, or was it two hammers? We will find out during our first block there. The Meta, Mark Zuckerberg building the first AI-powered translation system for languages that don't even have written aspects to them. Some interesting connections to, of course, the Tower of Babel, things like that. We'll be exploring that. And then, of course, we needed to do some updates on Ukraine and Russia and the New World Order. How is the mainstream news across the world framing the narrative about what the future of the global order will look like? Then we'll be, after our first break, checking in with COVID. The vaccine remains to be seen whether that will be too hot for YouTube. But if you're a YouTuber, make sure to go to canarycry.party. Follow us on other locations so you can make sure to catch the whole show. And then China's new yummy way of protecting you from COVID. We'll see if that's, we'll be taste testing the new Chinese COVID vaccine. Then, of course, we know that Fauci is going to be deposed as to his role in the NIH in, funding of certain types of research. Well, they're still getting in on some other types of research that I think we've learned our lesson. We need to pay attention, stay up to date on all the newfangled NIH research funding. And then, of course, at the end of the show, checking in with Antarctica, a nice set of collection of articles that are confirming the theories that we've been putting together for quite some time. So stick around for that. But first, Gons, time for our lead stories.
You are already sort of a cybernetic symbiote. Neural nets are taking over from regular programming. So you are connected.
I'm for the robots.
Yep. So
it happened.
It happened. Elon has botted
the roller coaster
Twitter
of emotion that has been this year.
Yeah. The
secret plans, the failures, the successes. It's all led up to this one moment. And what is this one moment? The culmination of drama. Well, Elon gave us the payoff, I think, in this one clip, which surely everybody is familiar with now.
Yeah, so he tweeted out, entering Twitter HQ, let that sink in. And it is accompanied by a 9-second video at currently about 42 million views in a day. So that's a lot of the world population seeing this thing on Twitter. But here it is. Sound is not great.
Yeah. Well, we should probably explain it. This is Elon walking into Twitter HQ carrying what seems to be a kitchen sink. Wow.
That's exactly what it is. He's
powerful imagery. Oh, goose pimples, Gons, goose pimples. What a effective troll this young man is. Now, I thought it was kind of a little bit of mixed messaging, because usually, the kitchen sink metaphor is says, we're getting rid of everything, including the kitchen sink.
You throw it out.
Or we're putting everything in this soup except for the kitchen sink, or is it including? I'm actually realizing that this sort of old-timey idiosyncratic metaphor, I'm not really sure exactly which direction it's supposed to go.
I think that's the whole point with a lot of these metaphors and memes these days. It's sort of ambiguous.
I didn't know it was, I will bring the kitchen sink to work. Maybe it's your bring your kitchen sink to work day at Twitter.
Doesn't look like a kitchen sink. That looks like a bathroom, public restroom sink.
Well, maybe he just needed a new sink in the executive bathroom suite at the top of the tower.
This is also, it could be a way for scorpions to sneak into Twitter.
Oh, sink scorpions.
Yeah,
yes.
sink
We all know that they have sort of a Stargate series of flumes that they can travel from sink to sink. That's a deep cut for any new listeners. I apologize. You'll catch up with the lore soon. There was this article from CNN. Of course, it's everywhere. Elon Musk will have to pay 3 fired Twitter executives nearly $200 million. And I loved this framing of it because everybody else, all the other outlets are, Elon's first day fires 3 or 4 executives. The number remains to be seen. Elon Musk cleaning house at Twitter, Elon Musk on a rampage. And the CNN headline is Elon Musk needs to pay a lot of money.
Still has to pay money.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting shifting of the headline. Elon Musk will have to pay 3 fired Twitter executives nearly $200 million, as if it caught him by surprise. Oopsies. It reads like this: the 3 top Twitter executives whom Elon Musk fired Thursday will walk out the door with about $187 million of Musk's money.
A weird way to put that. Musk's money.
I love it because they got to frame it as a victory here. Former CEO Parag Agrawal, former CFO Ned Segal, and former Chief Legal Officer Vijaya Gadde were ousted after Musk took control of the company late Thursday, according to a source familiar with the situation. They would have received a large chunk of that money, even if they had stayed on board under the new ownership, and they and other shareholders will receive payouts from Musk after he bought their shares at $54.20 each. That's funny. He got the 420 in there. Yeah, so most of that money they're getting from selling their shares, which is money they would have gotten otherwise. There is a bit of a golden parachute attached to that, and they get into the nitty-gritty details, which is incredibly uninteresting. I find it just when you take the mindset, this is obviously CNN writing to the layman, right? Yeah. Trying to set the stage for, they got fired, but look at all this money they got. When you're at this elite level of corporate oligarchy, the money really isn't the most important thing anymore. These people already had more money than they could have possibly spent in a lifetime, and indeed probably generations of their family. They had so much money already. The money means almost nothing. The real hit is the loss of power. This position at Twitter, not just corporate power or whatever, I get to be the boss, but, direct pipelines to the intelligence agencies, FBI. You've got the Biden administration making requests of you, which in the quid pro quo world of Washington means, the administration owes you a favor, these types of things. That's a level of power that these 3 people will definitely be missing, and the money is almost inconsequential.
Yeah, so a lot of people are noticing at least two of the 3 that are mentioned here have Indian descent. Parag Agrawal, who's born in Rajasthan, his father was a senior official at the Indian Department of Atomic Energy, and mother was a retired economist professor from a technical institute in Mumbai. And he's a lot younger than I thought. Born in 1984. That's an interesting year to be. And so, the other part is his, or who was it? The other lady, what is her name? I lost it. I lost her name. I lost her thing. Hold on. Let me find it.
Let's see. It was in the first thingamabob. Is it Vijaya Gadde?
Vijaya Gadde, yes.
Yeah.
I think she's the one that has a connection to Stanford University. Maybe they both do. But it's an interesting detail because we just had a new prime minister in the UK who is a
Right.
Stanford graduate, who is of Indian descent. So it's almost like a little musical chair. It's like, all right, well, we'll plug him in here in the UK, but then Twitter in America, leave, get out, switch
Twitter
it up.
in America, leave.
The other thing too, real quick, Elon paid $44 billion for Twitter, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that's been interesting, this 44 number's been popping up recently. New York Post. So I know you mentioned this, Basil, when we last talked about this, but Liz Truss resigns. New York Post had the headline 44 days in office.
Right.
Which I thought was weird. But then other outlets were carrying 45 days. The USA Today had 45 photos highlighting her 45 days as prime minister. And, there's always that significance, the numerical significance of 44, saying, the number of the days of Jesus's ministry post.
Allegedly, yeah.
Crucifixion. Yeah, you can count it that way or whatever. There's like angelic numbers and interpretations if you want to get into all the New Agey stuff. The New Agey people have a lot of meanings behind those numbers, or every number really. But it's almost like Liz Truss wanted... Because 44, one of the things with 44 is there's change coming. There's like a newness. There's a reform.
Okay.
So maybe she wanted it, but she doesn't get it. And instead, Elon gets all the shine. I don't know. There's just some dot connections to be had.
Okay. Yeah. The number's showing up a couple times. Love it. And, it's interesting. The day after Elon takes control, of course, he did similar things to his first day of control of Twitter, which was freeze all code updates, make some moves as far as unbanning people or unrestricting algorithms. I have yet to see the incredible boost in followership that happened last time, but I also have not tweeted in a while, so I'll give that a try, see what happens. But most interestingly to me, today, #liberalism is a mental disorder started trending.
Do you think that was his first thing when he walked into the back office there? He's like,
I'm
let's
sure
get
he just
this
pressed
trending.
the big off button, I think is what it is, because now we're seeing as far as like holding trending topics back, which was a documented and admitted tactic of Twitter, was they would stifle actual trending things and push their own trends. And of course, the day Elon takes over, liberalism is a mental disorder is allowed to trend. Also, Wuhan is trending, which I don't know. Maybe that would have happened before, depending on the stories. But anywho,
well, I have
big changes. We'll see if it continues.
I have 33-year-old Wall Street wonderkind is the CEO of PF Chang's, and he's giving the chain a complete makeover. He's a black guy. Guy who owns a Chinese chain restaurant in America, who's 33 years old. He's a Wall Street wonderkind. So maybe that's how they have to switch tactics to get the messaging out. Or maybe it's
switch tactics about what?
Signal.
About PF Chang's?
No.
What are we talking about here?
They're being featured on Twitter, getting the message out on Twitter. Maybe the 33-year-old, just random. It's almost like a distress signal. Like 33, we're getting censored by Elon, like the mainstreaming the propaganda progressive lizard people.
Oh no, yeah, it happens a lot. The Billy Baldwin blue check mark over here is doing the same thing that happened the first time, which is, Elon wants Twitter. He thinks free speech is cool. Well, let's do a big thread and be mean to him. We'll see if he censors this. And it's just like thousands of people like, yeah, let's be mean to Elon. He'll censor us, and then we can make a really good point. And if he doesn't censor us, then we can be mean to him, which is a hilarious sort of hypocrisy when it comes to, they wanted Twitter to not be a bully pulpit. So they censor everybody purposefully. And then when it's not censored, they get joy out of being bullies on Twitter, which is just a wonderful switcheroonski.
The social engineering. I mean, it truly is when you step back. They figured out all of our triggers, and they just know how to sway emotions.
They can play us like a fiddle, baby.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They can play us like a fiddle.
Especially in the context of different party lines.
That's why we always say, watch out who's pulling your strings, folks. Don't let anybody pull your strings. All right, with that, let's get this party started, Guns. It's Friday, baby. It's the end of the week. Let's do
Friday?
it.
Really?
I think.
It's Friday.
Keep playing with the Friday thing.
We're gonna learn today.
Cause it's Friday. You ain't got no job. And you ain't got shit.
Are you not entertained? Hey, what day is it? It's Friday. It's Friday.
That's right. I think it's Friday. I wasn't quite sure. I'm on about enough Red Bull and Dayquil to kill a horse.
Oh,
so but
whoa, hey,
I found
easy.
I found the perfect combination to be able to do the show today.
Okay.
Not feeling perfect, still feeling a little weird, but the voice is healthy enough to get back on the show, and I'm excited. I'm excited, and I'm amped up, Gons. Can't you tell?
Yes.
Yes, is the correct answer. Ding,
amped.
ding, ding. Points to Gons.
Mm-hmm. So yeah.
So what's up with you?
I'm trying to tell.
Come on, baby. Come on, talk, baby. Let's go.
So it is Bill Gates' birthday, and I was reminded that it is also not. I wasn't reminded that it was this other part, but the first part, I was reminded that it was Bill Gates' birthday, and it always depresses me for the second year in a row because it is also my son Keizo's birthday. He's 2 years old today.
Wee.
Yay! 2 years old.
Yay! Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Is it a terrible twos or a terrific twos?
It's both. It's complicated.
Remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So this is.
It's complicated. I think that's enough of an answer. We all know which the answer is, Gons. That's okay.
No, it is both. It really is both. But this is for Keizo when he's listening and when he is old enough.
Happy birthday to
Happy birthday, Keizo.
Happy birthday. To my son, not Bill Gates.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
you go. What's going on with you other than drugs?
That's it, huh?
Okay.
I am a robot.
Oh.
The secret has been revealed. I had a malfunction with the different voices that I'm capable of last episode. So yeah, I guess it's just time to reveal the fact that I've been an artificially intelligent podcaster this entire time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I had to fix a few things and underneath the hood there,
tweak.
and you're back to a normal looking,
the thing,
sounding
yeah.
human-ish.
If I were an AI, I would be pretty impressed with your work, Gons.
Yeah, it's like Small Wonder. You don't see the closet with all the computing machines off to the side, making it all happen.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of fun. We even considered making Robo Basil perhaps a recurring character on the show. I mean, it kind of took a little bit more time and preparation than I think either of us have time or space for in our lives. But who knows? Maybe Robo Basil will make it back to the show.
Well, it's a good proxy for you when you have to bail out.
Yeah, I'll have to type out some more scripts and things.
Right.
But there you go. And we were talking before the show. I mean, we've talked about this before. We don't need to belabor the point, but I was telling you, as of 2016, I have not deleted a single piece of my recorded voice. Ooh. So if we did get some sort of, artificial and AI training software or something, I've got thousands of hours of my voice that we could train it on.
Here's a question. Is it only your stem? As in, like, when you're not talking, if I'm talking, it's just silence?
Yeah.
And I wonder if the AI picks up on that, and the AI version of you just, every once in a while, just
talks to himself.
Doesn't say anything for like a minute or two. And then it's just part of your persona.
It's possible. Yeah. We'll have to find out. We will have to find out.
It's a parameter you can fix on or work on in the AI. But continue, go on.
Yeah, that's good. Well, speaking of which, Gons, let's thank some executive producers.
Executive producers.
That's right, folks. We're on the value for value model. You know it. You love it. It means we take no corporate money whatsoever. Why would your independent media take any money from a corporation? That's not independent. That is, by definition, dependent on corporations to exist. So instead, we eschew all advertising dollars, affiliate codes, platform partnerships, all the traditional ways to funding a piece of independent media. And instead, we're on the value for value model, which means we try our best to create as much value as possible and provide it to you for free. And if you get any value, if what we do brings value to your life, you have the opportunity and or the responsibility to put value back in. And that can take several forms: your time, your talent, or your treasure. Whatever way you can bring value back to the show, it is welcomed and applauded, not just because we're sitting here asking for charity or whatever. It is literally how the system works. If producers, that's what you are, cease to put value back into the system, then the system dies. It's just a simple sort of fact of nature. Without value coming back in, the value cannot be created.
Are you trying to say it's like a breath?
It is like a breath.
It's like a breath.
The value goes in and the value goes out. Right. So not every single listener has to produce every single show, but as long as people are being honest and being generous, as of course, without putting themselves at risk in any way, then the show can go on. And that is why we are here today. And the producers who come in and carry a heavy load with their producerships, we call them executive producers. And we do, thank God, have an executive producer today, Gons. Are you ready to thank them?
I am so ready. Very ready.
Okay.
Super
Today, everybody stands with a round of applause to thank our executive producer, Bush Protector.
Bush Protector.
Bush Protector. Yes, indeed. And Bush Protector comes in with the satchel full of twos. 222 and 22 cents. Nice. Thank you very much for that. That means a lot. Now, I'm trying to remember. I do not recall if Bush Protector has been knighted or damed. Because who knows? And I also do not see a note from Bush Protector at all. Do you remember getting a note? I don't
remember.
Okay.
All
right. Well, I'm not seeing anything. Yeah. Do you have the Proton Mail open?
Yes, I do. I can double check.
Okay, just check that real quick. See if anything from Bush Protector came in.
See anything.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much, executive producer Bush Protector, executive producer of episode 553 of Canary Crime News Talk.
Thank you, Bush Protector.
Indeed. And as of now, that concludes our list of executive producers, but it's not too late to produce the show, folks. You can head on over to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
Beep, bop, boop, boop. Now, I do want to, since I have the energy, let's just mention canarycrymeetups.com.
Oh, I thought you were going to go supply drop. Okay.
Oh, we are going to do that
Fake
too?
me out. All right, hold on. Give me a second.
That's okay. That's okay. You got it. You're a professional. You could almost seamlessly change directions without anybody even really knowing the difference.
Yeah, you'd think. Until you're put on the spot like you're doing to me right now. And that's when computers slow down and stop working.
Oh, that's okay. Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing, folks. Go over to canarycrymeetups.com because the meetups are very important. Not just to your connection to the show and the listeners of the show, but just life in general. Fellowshipping with people of like mind with yourself, but not too like mind, but with like-minded, brings so much value, not just to your life, but to, I would say, society as a whole. And you know what? Nothing wrong with making society better.
Canary Cry Meetup.
That's right. We got a couple of meetups coming up in November, early November. November 4th and 5th is the Phoenix, Arizona meetup. There's more details coming, folks, but if you want to get in touch, you can email StephenGrenade@gmail.com. That's STEPHEN grenade@gmail.com. If you're in the Phoenix area or within striking distance, November 4th and 5th, they're waiting for you. But at about the same time in Merrillville, Indiana, November 5th, they got another meetup going on. Stop one is Coffee Talk at 3 p.m. at the Region Cat Cafe. Do not miss this, folks. I don't know if you've been to a cat cafe, but it's the most delightful thing you could possibly do with your time. And then after the Cat Cafe, they're going to go to dinner at Aladdin Pita. And you can RSVP by hitting up Sassy Frass with 2 S's, sassyfrassbees@gmail.com. Sassyfrassbees@gmail.com to get in touch. And those are our November meetups, both happening on the 5th. Remember the 5th of November when Canary Cry meetups were many. And it's a revolutionary sort of vibe on the 5th of November. So check that out. Go to canarycrymeetups.com, baby. We'll see you at the meetup.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Now it's time for the supply drop. That's right, folks. CanaryCrySupplyDrop.com. Go check it out. It is your one-stop shop for supporting the show. What is it? Well, if you are not yet a producer, this is a good thing to consider. You go to CanaryCrySupplyDrop.com. You commit to supporting the show for $33.33 a month. That is just your producership. You can imagine just getting that much value out of the show. That's about $2.17 of value per episode. I don't think that's unreasonable. But when you support the show on the monthly basis for $33.33, we will start sending you free custom created, producer made, or producer designed, artist designed Canary Cry News Talk gear. And fourth quarter supply drop, it's going to have the Canary Cry calendar. We had some people a little confused about the calendar recently, asking us where we're selling them. We don't sell them. We send them out for free to supply drop producers. So now is the time. This calendar is one of the most beloved, treasured items that is put together by our producers. It's a calendar chock-a-block full of Canary Cry artist art, filled with important dates to the New World Order and alternate histories and biblical Christianity, as well as the show. It is filling up. That is a calendar that is filling up quickly. So if you want to have Bill Gates and Bezos' birthday on your calendar, you got to get the Canary Cry calendar. Now, here's the fun part. If you sign up for the Canary Cry supply drop before December, so before December, do not sign up once December starts. So sign up as soon as possible. Then you will also receive a free bonus copy of the Canary Cry mixtape, Volume 1, on cassette tape. In case you missed out on last quarter's supply drop, we're going to be sending out these mixtapes with all new signups. So go sign up now. CanaryCrySupplyDrop.com. We're all waiting.
Waiting for supply drop.
Okay, Gons.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
That's right. It's time for the Flippy update, folks. Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world and becoming podcasters, and how there's nothing we can do about it. Today, Gons, the Flippy update is coming from Janes.com. Janes.com. Now, I had never heard of Janes.com. You did a little bit of research. What's the deal with Janes.com?
Yeah, Janes.com I thought was just some random outlet. We were like, hey, let's look for a better outlet. But then I started digging in. And the About page, I still haven't exactly figured out who is behind it. But in the About section, it says, in a world crowded with increasingly unreliable information, our customers require timely, verified, validated, unbiased, and relevant defense, threat, and equipment intelligence. The interconnectivity of Jane's assured open source intelligence and analysis enables us to provide you with the unique insights required to make mission critical decisions. It's like, whoa, what in the world? And their vision is to be the trusted global agency for open source defense intelligence.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Open source defense intelligence. Well, yeah. I like it. It's kind of exciting.
Sounds fun. And then the power of the interconnected. I like how bold they are. They talk about how there's an organization, Jane's Intara, They bring together all the assured intelligence across multiple military capabilities. They do all the heavy lifting, is what they're saying. The ability to interconnect, contextualize, and integrate Jane's assured foundational intelligence with third-party and your own data in a common, consistent framework enables the exploitation of all intelligence sources in a shareable, actionable manner, resulting in a more complete and assured assessment. Assured by Jane's. They're assuring.
Lost me there a little bit.
They are assuring that the type of data gathering they present is accurate and worthwhile for all intelligence agencies.
Right. So they're not trying to just be like a news outlet for the public. They're trying to be an open source sort of research zone for industry professionals. Industry
being the intelligence industry.
Yeah. and military industrial complex types.
It's almost like it's a military industrial complex, not exactly like a news outlet, but more of a bulletin for their people.
A newsletter or a magazine or something. Right.
But it's public, which is interesting. And they're bringing all of us into
I like it. I'm into it.
Yeah, we're all part of the PSYOP now, you know?
Now we're talking about Flippy. The headline is Royal Netherlands Army commences armed robot trials in first among Western militaries. The Royal Netherlands Army has become the first Western military to begin operational trials with armed unmanned ground vehicles, UGVs. Janes has learned this. 4 armed Themis UGVs were deployed with the Netherlands' 13th Light Brigade to Lithuania on the 12th of September. Lieutenant Colonel Schuldemessen, commander of the Royal Netherlands Army Robotics and Autonomous Systems Unit, a whole unit. That's cool. Told Janes the UGVs are currently undergoing trials with a view to developing and refining doctrine at the platoon level. Quote, we have deployed 4 weaponized unmanned machines within an operational experiment, Lieutenant Colonel Mifferson said. Quote, to my knowledge, we have not seen this before in the West. He continued, quote, the machines have been handed over for experimental use in an operational unit in a military relevant environment. These are not simply tests on a training ground. We are under the direct eyes and ears of the Russians, and as such, in a semi-operational environment. An announcement by the Dutch Ministry of Defense, MOD, confirming the deployment was released on 14th of October. So we've followed for years now the use of killbots, mostly in the East. A lot of killbots when it comes to Russia, a lot of killbots when it comes to China, even a little bit when it came to India. But as far as the West is concerned, the first publicly available operational killbots, of course, militaries have sort of brought them out on testing grounds, and we've seen the firing ranges. Yes, we've seen those things. But considering that the Netherlands Royal Army is sort of on, I mean, they are right there, sort of part of the Eastern Front against Russia, they consider to be in an operational mode. So as far as the West is concerned, we have our first killbots, baby. We did it. We're catching up.
Well, I think it'll be pretty epic when the robot army crosses into Russian territory, and then the Russians and Putin unleashes the cloned Scythians.
Yes, the Scythians.
We will truly have a science fiction level battle.
The Scythian super soldiers.
Yes.
Maybe the Scythian clone super soldiers will be riding robotic horses, because of course the Scythians famous for their horseback riding. Yeah. Yes. So we get some robotic horses, put some cloned Scythians on it, and boom, baby, that's the World War III we were promised. None of this. None of this, I don't know, sanctions and nuclear threats. Boring.
The Themis, the images of the Themis here in the article, they just look like miniature tanks.
Yeah, they do, which is actually does not make me feel any better.
Yeah.
Autonomous tanks, they are smaller. So it's not quite the like Star Wars bipedal assault robots that were promised. But the fact remains that they are autonomous and unmanned and are thirsty for blood. And, what more could you ask for?
I don't know. A mech suit that can battle it, because clearly that's where the battlefront is taking place.
That's very Japanese of you, Gons. Well, there you go, folks.
You're the one campaigning to get in one of those suits.
That's true, yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's for racing purposes. Okay. Right. Yeah, I've not gotten the offer from Prosthesis mech suit yet. Yeah. I don't have enough Twitter followers, but maybe now that Elon is in control, I can amass my Twitter army for a pressure campaign to pressure Prosthesis into letting me drive one of those robots.
How do we get Elon to retweet something you say? Do we make googly-eyed
Guns?
Elon
if I knew how to make that happen, I certainly wouldn't be here. I'll tell you what. I jest. There's your Flippy update, folks.
Thank you very much. Let's continue on. We got a little politics here.
Poly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
Now suck your blood. Now suck
Politics.
Your blood.
It's good for your teeth. I like it better than anything else. I enjoy it. Chocolatey. Science is the answer. Science, 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 and science.
Yeah.
So much science, Nancy.
So much chocolate. Axios.com. This was breaking this morning as we were putting the show together. Source: attacker asked Pelosi's husband, "Where is Nancy?"
Yeah.
This is like the perfect Halloween weekend, real life, but also kind of sounds fictional event.
Good point. It is sort of a horror story.
It's a seasonal political move right before the elections, too. Maybe trying to buy some sympathy for a very unpopular couple in the country. A 42-year-old man, 42 again, a lot of 42 recently, too, has been arrested and charged with multiple felonies, including attempted homicide for allegedly attacking Paul Pelosi, the 82-year-old husband of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, early Friday morning at their San Francisco home, per police. Should I go through the big picture? These are all these bullet points.
Yeah, just read it. It's a pretty quick read.
Right. So it says, big picture, the attack comes amid an uptick in threats against members of Congress and a series of security incidents over the summer. Yes, Pelosi is where the country is so bad that all the politicians are in danger since Jan 6. Driving the news, a suspect who police identified as David DePape was looking for the speaker, per a source briefed on the attack. The source said that before the attack, DePape confronted Paul Pelosi shouting, quote, "Where is Nancy? Where is Nancy?"
So before the attack, this isn't, we'll make it all the way through this because there's something about this that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but let's keep it going.
Okay. DePape, these are bullet points. DePape, I'm going to say DePape.
Yeah, just pick one. Yeah.
Well, I'm exploring the different. DePape is fun. DePape attacked Pelosi with a hammer in front of officers. Huh? Right. After they arrived for a quote-unquote well-being check at around 2:30 a.m. local time, San Francisco Police Chief William Scott said during a news conference Friday. A well-being check at the Pelosi household at 2:30 a.m.? I don't think so.
This is not making a whole lot of sense. Let's keep it going.
Nancy Pelosi was not in San Francisco at the time of the attack. The California Democrat spokesperson Drew Hamill said in a statement, quote, "The motivation for the attack is under investigation. Mr. Pelosi was taken to the hospital where he is receiving excellent medical care and is expected to make a full recovery," Hamill said. Details. DePape has been charged with attempted homicide, assault with a deadly weapon, elder abuse, burglary, and, quote, several other additional felonies, per Scott. Is that pertaining to this event or past events or what's going on? Because that's an intelligence.
It's probably
FBI
breaking
move.
and entering and less exciting ones.
FBI, Yeah, but also FBI is good at finding people that are, they're already bad, and then they just, make other things for political purposes or whatever. Quote, the Pape pulled the hammer away from Mr. Pelosi and violently assaulted him with it, Scott said. So Paul Pelosi had the hammer first, it sounds like.
Finish this whole thing
quote,
here.
Immediately tackled, the officers, quote, immediately tackled the Pape, disarmed him, took him into custody, requested emergency backup, and rendered medical aid. Both Paul Pelosi and DePape were transferred to a local hospital early Friday, Scott said.
Then the rest of the article is people saying they're so sorry and they're praying for the Pelosi family. Right. So I read a few articles about this, and it almost literally, word for word, would be reported that this guy broke into the Pelosi house with a hammer and attacked Pelosi,
Paul Pelosi in front of police somehow.
And then the police show up.
No, they were there.
Right. Well, no. It's reported that like the police were alerted and showed up, and then that's they found both Pelosi and DePape holding a hammer, and then once the police got there, DePape pulled the hammer. It's just so bizarre.
The police were taking a stroll down San Francisco, and hey, let's turn this corner.
Wellness check
for the wellness
on Paul
check
Pelosi. At 2:30 a.m., they just happened to find Pelosi and this guy both
struggling,
holding the same hammer. I'm thinking that I think it's Pelosi's hammer.
It sounds like it.
I think the guy broke in.
Yeah.
Pelosi grabbed a hammer to defend, and maybe went after this guy. He grabbed the hammer and tried to, had his hand on the hammer. The police stroll in on a casual wellness check at 2:30 a.m. Look, I understand. Paul Pelosi currently has some very serious DUI charges and probably is wearing an ankle bracelet, by the way. Yeah. Why would police do a wellness check on someone with an ankle bracelet at 2:30 a.m.? Because he probably left his geo-fenced area that he's allowed to be in. I don't know why else police would just show up at the house for no reason. He's got an ankle bracelet.
He's trying to get drugs. Local kids aren't participating or following the instructions. He says he can't get out of a certain zone.
Right. So I think he left his geofencing for his DUI ankle bracelet. That called the police to give a wellness check. Who knows where this guy came from? Maybe he's the drug dealer. Maybe he's whatever. Came back to the house with Paul. Then maybe his drug deal gone bad or something. Right. Paul grabs a hammer.
You said $100.
Whatever, who knows? It is, that's why I like this Axios report, is because they just bullet point the facts. They don't try to create a narrative. Every other article created this narrative that it's right-wing extremists that brought a hammer, broke into the house, attacked. Look,
did they actually say right-wing extremist?
No, but that's what they're saying. They're saying without saying it, because they'll start it with, as a result of January 6th, more politicians are getting attacked, and that's when David Pape came in with a hammer and blah, blah, blah.
Also, De Pape kind of sounds like Pepe with the whole meme, with the whole, that side of the aisle.
Oh, Pepe the Frog, you mean?
Yeah. Convenient.
Yeah, but the facts are, there are no facts with this. There are so many confusing aspects to this story. And to be honest, if the guy broke in the middle of the night and Paul Pelosi was sleeping and he had a hammer, Paul Pelosi wouldn't be alive right now if he got attacked at night with a hammer while he's sleeping or whatever, right? And the fact that he only sustained injuries after the police showed up for a wellness check is so suspicious.
It is very suspicious.
It is the most, and of course, it's Pelosi. And of course, we're 11 days or something before the midterms, and it's California. So this is going to be spun every which way for political purposes.
I can envision her little speech about her poor husband, and this is what the extreme right.
It's because of January 6th. Somebody broke into my house to my husband who has an ankle monitor on, and good thing that the San Francisco Police Department was so fast and caring. You are the only human being on this planet, Paul Pelosi, that the cops would show up so expediently to a crime in your house that they actually get there before the assault happens. Ask any other person living in San Francisco, that is an impossibility, which makes it even more suspicious, the whole thing. I think we're going to learn more details about this. I think, the political opposition has so much motivation to figure out the truth of what happened. I think we need to keep an eye out for this because there might be some weird details that come out.
Yeah, it really puts a whole new layer to the Lawrence O'Donnell "Stop the Hammering." Remember that?
Yeah.
MSNBC.
Nice. All right. What else you got?
Okay. There's also some beast system stuff.
Speaking of the beast system. Beast system.
This is a article from MarkTechPost, and the headline: Meta AI researchers built the first artificial intelligence AI-powered translation system under Universal Speech Translator, UST, for a primarily oral language Hokkien. Is that how you say it? Hokkien?
I have no idea.
Hokkien. And it says, although over half of the world's 7,000 plus live languages are predominantly oral and lack a standardized writing system, recent technological advancements in AI translation have primarily concentrated on written languages. It is also mainly because of this reason that machine translation systems cannot be created using conventional methods because they require appreciable written content to train an AI model. In order to address this issue, Meta, formerly Facebook, has created the first AI-powered Hokkien translation system. The Chinese diaspora speaks Hokkien widely, but no official written version of the language exists. As a part of Meta's Universal Speech Translator, UST project, this open-source translation tool enables Hokkien and English speakers to communicate among themselves. And that's part of the dream vision over there at Meta, I think somebody had to put out a positive article about them because they're being kind of slaughtered in the public right now because of how much money they've spent on the metaverse this year. I think it's like upwards of 10 billion or something. And all they have to show is a really bad Mark Zuckerberg walking around, or not even walking around, floating around in some virtual space. But obviously, just real briefly, the takeaway with a technology like this, the idea that the vision for Mark Zuckerberg is to have this metaverse space where people can come in from any language and they're able to communicate seamlessly.
Right.
And of course, that has a biblical precedent to it, because if you go to Genesis 11, it's the whole story about the Tower of Babel. Verse 1 says, "Now the whole world had one language and a common form of speech." And, you can just literally apply that whole concept of a common form of speech to this AI, or the UST, the Universal Speech Translator.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's not like everybody needs to speak the same language. It's just as long as the AI is between them and can translate. And of course, AI translation has been a thing for a long time. Right. But specifically, the interesting thing about this is that there is no written form of this language. So usually AI is trained on text, or at least it's a big part of it. It would take vocal, sound, the sound of a language, translated into text, and then from there translated over to the new language.
I'm wondering, because, and maybe there's more details on this that are a little bit too, not that important, but I'm curious if it just does some kind of audio analysis and is able to piece things together that way. I guess they have to catalog it. So
of course, that's what it's going. Yeah, there is no text to translate this language into. So it is a breakthrough in translation technology, but even more so, this is focusing on the Chinese diaspora is an interesting aspect of it, because who are the Chinese diaspora? The Chinese diaspora are the people who have ran from the CCP or got kicked out of the CCP, or they are the ones who are the rogue Chinese
in the Star Wars context.
Yeah, so sort of grafting the rogue Chinese people into the sort of Babel,
the example of the
Babel's beast system, is a really pretty radical sort of political act that they're trying to hang their hat on here.
Right. And then back in Genesis 11, they go into why the city is called Babel. It's because the language was all messed up. Because when they were working together, the Lord said that they can devise anything they imagine. Which is sort of this world that the metaverse is building. There's a lot of parallels. Even if you're not super eschatology or end times,
without having to just learn other languages, it's God split all the languages. With our new God, artificial intelligence, we shall unite the languages once again. With the result being, they can. What is the exact words of basically how humans can defeat the Elohim?
What are you talking about?
From the scripture, you just read it. We just read it again.
At the top. Do anything they imagine to do? Is that what you're saying? Like devising plans?
Yeah.
Reach the heavens. Yeah, it's about reaching the heavens. Right. And other extra biblical text refers to the event as dethroning God and
that's
going
maybe
up there
what I
and
was
killing
thinking.
him and the whole deal.
And it wasn't, the Sunday school version was dethroning God, like in a Yahweh sense, but in the sort of more academic sense, it's dethroning other Elohim, the other smaller G gods.
The Tower of Babel specifically. No, in the Tower of Babel, the people were trying to dethrone God, or at least the extra biblical text, because they shoot arrows up into the sky. And
that's what I mean.
They're trying. Yeah, so. Interesting, but in any case, always something to keep in mind with all this social media stuff and technology and where it's all headed, AI and the rest, and how it's got a lot more touching points or just connections to the ancient past, specifically recorded in the Bible. So you really don't have much of an excuse. The people that really aren't getting it.
People don't even read their Bible, for heaven's sakes.
Just not reading it.
Fun.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some complaints, Gons, that you got to turn up your volume a little bit for the stream.
Even more? I thought I turned it up enough. But
I'm just the messenger here, buddy.
Okay. Well, let's see if that helps. Okay.
Let's check in with Ukraine and Russia.
Oh, that's right. Ukraine, Russia.
Russia. Fight for Ukraine. New world order.
Armageddon's on the way.
Okay, so I've got this actually highlighted out here, Gons, and just so we don't fall too far behind, there was an interesting set of articles that are coming out when it comes to Ukraine, Russia, some of the language being thrown around between the two of them, and also from the U.S. Side of things. Let me start out here. This is the Bloomberg. Let me grab my highlighted version. Hopefully it's still highlighted, because it does like to mess with me a little bit. Your evening briefing. Is that the correct one? Biden warns Putin over radioactive false flags.
Oh, catch me up. Catch me up to everything.
Get caught up, it says. So this is interesting for those who might be maybe newer to the show and maybe new to, media analysis and deconstruction. And, if you've been in sort of the fringy truth world for a while, this phrase false flag, you'll be very familiar with, especially in the context of some other current events like Alex Jones getting sued for the Sandy Hook thing, calling it a false flag. False flag was this very conspiratorial term for decades and was never even recognized by any, official outlets, official sources, official news outlets, or politicians, or anybody. But it was only a few months ago. I can tell you exactly when it was. It was February of 2022 is when we started hearing official government briefings, including Biden from the pulpit, talking about false flags, suddenly using this term that was relegated to conspiracy theorists. Indeed, even mainstream news outlets commented on hey, this false flag term used to be just a crazy tinfoil hat term, and now Biden is using it from, the podium. But here we go. So we're kind of going back to this. Biden warns Putin over radioactive false flags. And the story itself is not the most important, but let's get just a quick little touch of it. U.S. President Joe Biden warned the Kremlin Tuesday against using any radioactive weapons in its war on Ukraine as tensions over a potential nuclear escalation by Moscow climb. Since before its invasion in February, Russia has been accused of trying to muddy the waters by accusing Kyiv of planned provocations. That's an interesting set of accusations there. Russia has been accused of trying to muddy the water. They've been accused of accusing Kyiv of planned provocations. Unsubstantiated claims that would ostensibly provide cover for Russian false flag operations. Now they do put false flag in quotes right there.
Yeah, so how are they defining false flag here? Just to clarify.
Do they define it in here?
Not exactly. I'm saying when they use the phrase in parentheses and mentioning it here.
They sort of define it earlier as planned provocations.
Right.
But let's see what else they say. 8 months later, widely rejected allegations by Vladimir Putin's adjutants that Ukraine plans a radioactive dirty bomb attack on its own soil have the U.S. and NATO wondering whether Putin is planning to detonate one himself.
That would be a false flag.
Exactly. So they are giving the definition of the false flag as accusing someone else of what we did ourselves or what they did ourselves, which is a fascinating time for this article to come up because, especially relevant to the Nord Stream 2 pipeline explosion. Some might consider that a false flag, blaming it on your enemy, but, doing it yourself. And that's been sort of the honestly hilarity of the whole situation is the U.S. blaming Russia of claiming false flags while, infamously committing false flags ourselves. But, the joy of pointing this out has sort of started to weaken recently because of its obviousness. Yeah. With Russia losing significant ground in the northeast and southeast of Ukraine in recent weeks, assessments that Putin may be considering a nuclear attack on Ukraine are growing in the West. Others contend this dirty bomb brinksmanship is the latest Kremlin effort to scare off NATO when it comes to advanced military aid in Ukraine. But Kyiv authorities claimed Tuesday they've seen suspicious activity by Russian forces at Ukraine's occupied nuclear power plant that could indicate the gambit is real.
That could indicate. Wow. Really stretch.
Such games of chicken have been wargamed for decades, and they have always had the capacity to spiral out of control. Yes, indeed. So the funny part is, Russia having occupation of Ukraine's nuclear facility, and Ukraine saying that the Russians are acting suspicious is giving the impression that the Russians needed nuclear material from Ukraine's nuclear plant in order to commit a false flag, which is sort of a strange, complex, sort of circuitous route to try to justify the fear that, Russia might be planning a false flag. because Russia has its own nuclear stuff. Like, they don't need Ukrainian nuclear material. But alas, that is kind of the one piece of justification that's being given. What do you think?
Yeah. So, with the idea of a false flag, it's always complicated. I almost have to like map out exactly what's taking place.
And it's part of the fun of it.
Right.
It's like this whole false flag thing. Who benefits? Why would who do what for when? It's a real tongue teaser.
It's hard to explain the way the threads connect per se, but at the beginning of the article here, it's basically saying that Putin's going to set off a bomb in Russia and blame it on Ukraine. That's like one form. And then with this, it says that sentence, with Russia losing significant ground in the northeast and southeast of Ukraine in recent weeks, assessment that Putin may be considering a nuclear attack on Ukraine are growing in the West. Isn't that part of the false flag from the West?
Right.
To blame Putin.
It's part of the false flag that they don't really mention here. An essential aspect of false flagging is the narrative built around it.
Yeah. But if everyone's accusing everyone of false flagging, then it's kind of a pointless. It just it confuses the general public, for one. I think that's meant to do that for sure.
And exactly. We've talked about this back when Biden brought up the term false flag. It had become so popular, and questioning the official story had become so prevalent within the United States, populace, that they finally they grafted the language in and sort of used it as a confusing factor themselves. Right. It really is a very strong propagandistic technique, especially when people know what false flag means. You start using the language of the skeptics, and it becomes much more of an available route for propaganda. And that's what we're seeing here.
Right. So
even...
I was going to say, are you done with the
I was going to move on to this next one as an example.
From the ashes of their woes, we'll build a better one.
Build back better, blah, blah, blah. Build back better. We will build Babylon better. This time, a new world order.
So Biden uses false flag.
That's right. And usnews.com has a headline, U.S. military dismisses Russia as acute threat as Putin boasts of new world order.
Okay.
And it starts out, the whole first half of this thing is a discussion about different officials in the U.S. talking about whether Russia is an acute threat, meaning they can, for instance, drop a bomb or cause damage to us.
Yeah.
Right. Cause damage to us in acute sense, in one swoop, one action cause damage, versus China, which is more of a long-term threat, more of a chronic threat of China
an economic
than an
versus
acute threat.
Yeah, economic versus some kind of physical altercation.
Yeah, and the categories are a little less important, but just a tomorrow threat or a 100 years threat kind of difference. And it's kind of a boring article. But they do get into this in the second half, and let me share it with you now. I'm going to start right under that fun little image of Putin in a car
vehicle,
with the Conquer
sticker,
bumper sticker,
and the coexist. The opposite version of the coexist.
It's kind of a remake of coexist, except for it says conquer.
Right.
Indeed, while Austin was speaking from the podium at the Pentagon, Putin himself was giving a sweeping, densely detailed Soviet-style address from the Valdai International Discussion Club, a Moscow-based foreign policy forum. He made dramatic claims about the grandeur that he says accompanies the Kremlin's mission in the former Soviet state, meaning Ukraine. Quote, "We are standing on the I'll do the accent. We are standing on the political, this is not even the right word. We are standing on a historical frontier," Putin said. describing what he considers the beginning of probably the most dangerous, unpredictable, and at the same time important decade since the end of World War II. He described Russia's mission in Ukraine, which he claims centers on defeating a neo-Nazi regime in Kyiv that threatens every Russian citizen, as revolutionary to a certain extent in that it connects with a chain of conflicts that will affect all mankind. So what they're saying is Putin sees this not as a singular war, but as in a chain of historical events that will be very
We
important.
all saw the butterfly effect. Continue.
Putin claimed he was helping build, quote, a symphony of human civilization by shaping a new world order in which every system of worldviews would be taken into account. And it was at this point, Gons, that this language actually started to ring pretty familiar, huh?
Yeah.
The symphony of human civilization, shaping a new world order in which every system of worldviews would be taken into account. Where else have we seen language like this?
Yeah, there's a long time ago, well, she would be old if she was still alive, a lady named Alice Bailey who wrote a bunch of stuff, claimed to channel Deja Kul, the Tibetan, these
Alice
ascended
Bailey,
masters.
the infamous sort of occult channeler that was influential in a lot of mid-century sort of marriages of the occult and politics, huh?
Right, yeah. And there's a document, it's hard to find now because there's so many people that have created sort of a separate document based on her 10 steps to a new world order. But in it, she does talk about how...
Wasn't she sort of the original sort of new world order?
She's one of the first.
Didn't necessarily come up with the idea, but is one of the original influencers as far as this new world order idea.
Yeah, and she does talk about an awakening process, and in that process, the nations all being honored, their cultures being honored and preserved. It's not a complete takeover of culture and all this stuff. It's more of a what's the word? An eclectic unity,
sort
that
of
kind of
symphony of human civilization.
A symphony of human civilization. Yeah, well put, Vladimir. Vlad, nice job. Been reading that Alice Bailey. So, I thought that was it. And also, one of the things, this is something else that I don't hear people talk about all the time. Alice Bailey had a list of the rays and the nations, the rays, like the light, light beam,
Right.
And a list of nations. And it's interesting because there are 11 nations. And when you talk about the, Bible prophecy, you have 10 kings that are all of one mind. And then you have an 11th that comes in and takes over. But the nations are India, China, Germany, France, Great Britain, Italy, USA, Russia, Austria, Spain, and Brazil. So interesting.
Yes, certainly I think every single one of those playing an important part in what's going on right now.
Yeah, and
I'm not so
India,
sure about Austria, but I just don't know much about Austria in general.
Well,
certainly was important during World War II.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't Hitler from Austria?
Something like that. Austria was very important during that time. He goes on here. So he gives his little quote, his little Alice Bailey quote, which again is actually kind of unusual for Putin talk, because he's not so much like, hey, everybody work together. He's like, the West is satanic.
Right. Well, I'll say this.
The devil.
I'll say this. So part of Alice Bailey's big thing, I know a lot of people just think that she's, invoking Lucifer, in which she was, but a lot of those occultists in that era, they conflate God, the light of the world, with the counterfeit light. So Alice Bailey's big message was, we're getting ready for the return of Christ. But it wasn't Jesus' return. It was more like, the Christ it was very complicated, right? It was Christ consciousness.
It was the occult new age.
Right. The golden age again and all that kind of stuff. And so
Age of Aquarius was a big
if you're
thing.
not if you're someone like Putin, very busy, he's got to ride his horses, got to take out people trying to take him out. he may not look into the details, but see that there's, oh, look, Alice Bailey was talking about the return of Christ. And, my people like talking about the return of Christ. So maybe,
Or simply a player in a bigger game that none of us can fully comprehend.
Well, somebody had to hand him the book, right?
The article continues here. It says, he said Russia's conflict is with Western elites, not necessarily the West itself, employing language similar to that of American conservatives. Oh, there we go. American conservatives and Putin have so much in common again. But it is interesting is using that language. His war is with the Western elites, not with the West itself. And of course, we've seen through the past, many years of American politics, conservatives are much more concerned with, the class war than it is the ideological war, or at least, certain contingents of conservatives are on the level with that. But it's seen as a bad thing. If you're at war with the elites, if you disagree with the actions of the elites, you're a crazy conservative right-wing Trump supporter. I mean, Trump got most of his, supporters from voicing disdain with the elite circles, not so much ideological or policy problems, but just, draining the swamp, getting rid of the elites, et cetera, et cetera. So they're connecting this to Putin, of course. Yeah. And the former KGB officer likewise cast himself as of the lower classes, not the elites, due to his modest upbringing. Another unsubtle attempt to show sympathy with the 300,000 young men he has forced into military service to support the flagging military campaign in Ukraine, a move that spurred widespread protests and mass flight from Russia. He appeared to downplay the potential employment of nuclear weapons, saying, quote, "We don't need a nuclear strike on Ukraine. There is no point politically or militarily."
Wait. He's just saying that. He's lying, people. He's lying. He's a liar.
Right. Well, you gotta know he is an expert at playing the game. He is an expert at playing the game. He can apparently simultaneously strike fear into the hearts of all of Americans with nuclear threats and give speeches about how, a nuclear strike wouldn't help him politically or militarily. So, with a penchant for quoting Alice Bailey, a lot of we joke about people giving us criticism about carrying water for Putin and stuff like that. Of course, the mainstream makes that an easy joke to make. But in all seriousness, you got to remember, he is not in his position because he's a nice guy or because he's not clued in with the broader sort of spiritual roadmap that's been laid out for the many nations. So he's certainly playing his part and pretty much telling each group exactly what they want to hear. Very impressive.
Mm. Yeah.
And confusing the U.S. at the same time.
Yeah. How conservative sounding really is he? They accuse him of sounding like an American conservative.
Yeah.
But what kind of examples do we have here?
I'm glad you asked, Gons, because the BBC.com headlined Russia to ban sharing LGBT propaganda with adults as well as children. Oh. So pretty conservative, Gons. The controversial Russian ban against promoting so-called gay propaganda looks set to be extended to adults. So it's one thing, it's been illegal for a while to, promote gay propaganda to children in Russia, but now it's to adults. Even adults can't
the big children,
talk about it. The big, in the elite's view, the big children. Yeah. The move represents a toughening of an existing 2013 law, which makes providing information about being LGBT. Where's the Q and the plus? It's BBC.
They're getting lazy.
To children, a criminal offense. Those convicted face large fines for promoting what Russia calls non-traditional sexual relations. The initial approval of the extension was voted through by the Russian State Duma unanimously. Earlier this week, officials had urged politicians in Russia's lower house of parliament to enact the extension, portraying it as part of a broader battle over civilizational values with the West and linking it to decision to invade Ukraine. And it goes on about the details of it, but it includes propaganda of pedophilia, non-traditional lifestyles, rejection of family values. All of these sorts of things are kind of lumped up in there. But it's seen as a civilizational war against the West.
I find it interesting that the seed of this thing happening was in 2013 in Russia. Because that is the year that in America we had the Smith-Munn Modernization Act. So it's almost like they are planning the split, the fork, of civilization already in that early stage.
Right. So and it was right before Crimea too.
Yeah.
So big things been going on, starting right around that time.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Well. It's time for a party, Guns.
Is it party time?
I think it is.
Party time? CanaryCry.party. Go to the website, CanaryCry.party. You'll find a tree of links that leads to everything from where to listen to the show, watch the show, how to produce the show, how to connect with us and the community.
Welcome to Canary Cry Party. It's the place you wanna be. So say welcome to Canary Cry. Gameplay CanaryCry.party.
That's right. All sorts of great stuff over there at CanaryCry.party. You can get Ravel, which is a podcast I do with Dr. Christopher Ryan Gates. He's got a PhD in biblical interpretation, and we have tough conversations in good faith exploring society, scripture, and scandal. Go check it out. We've also got the Canary Cry Clips channel on YouTube and Odyssey, and you can get text message alerts. If you're not getting alerts from your video platform or your social media when we go live, you can always go straight to the source, and we'll send you a text message right before we go live. You just text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. That's 877-740-3226. Text Canary to start getting those. Thank you very much. And it's time to thank some producers, Guns.
It's break time!
Come on, take a break. You know it. We're on the value for value model, which means we take no corporate money whatsoever. It's just not right. Why would an independent media show whose sole purpose is to analyze and deconstruct the mainstream and their corporate overlords as to, exactly how they are using the tools at their disposal in order to increase their profits? What indeed is the purpose of corporate involvement in the media? Well, it's to serve corporate motives. And what are corporate motives? It's to extract resources from the many and deliver them to the few. So if your independent media is taking corporate money, the one reason why that is happening is to extract your resources and give it to the few. But not here, folks. We're on the value for value model, which is an entirely voluntary way to support the show or keep this show going. It's easy. We create value. If you get any value at all out of what we do, you have the opportunity to put some value back in. It can be done with your time, your talent, or your treasure. It's up to you. And as long as people are understanding that as long as value continues in both ways, the show can keep going. And it's a simple equation. If the value stops going either way, then the value stops altogether. But today is not that day, Guns. So let's thank some producers. We went ahead and thanked our executive producer, Bush Protector. Thank you very much, executive producer, Bush Protector. But we've got some more people to thank. Are you ready?
I am, and I'm very grateful for the people coming in, especially because, it's putting your money where your mouth is, and also
putting your treasure where your treasure is.
Yeah, exactly. And because otherwise, we're just getting promises and virtue signaling from people like Elon Musk, who we forgot to mention, Basil. He tweeted out, "The bird is freed."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it's another piece of evidence that he listens to the show. And now he's trolling us.
He's trolling us again, isn't he? Yeah, of course. It's all about us, folks. You'll learn this soon enough. All right, let's thank some producers.
Let's do it.
Starting out with producer Lady Night Little Wing.
Lady Night Little Wing, thank you very much. Good to see you.
Yes, and a nice round number. Just a reminder, folks, if you send in a nice round number, that tells us you don't want us to disclose that number. If you don't mind us disclosing the number, make it a funky number. So people put 33 cents or 77 cents, something like that. That'll tell us you don't mind us reading it on the air. But Lady Night Little Wing comes in with a nice round number and a note that says, "Blessings, Canary fam. Welcome back, best buddy Basil. XO Lady Night Little Wing." Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lady Night Little Wing.
Glad to see ya. Next up, we've got producer Christian N.
Thank you, Christian N. Good to see you.
The Canary Cry Norwegian is here.
Yes.
Good to see ya. Let me just double check something real quick. Christian N comes in. You know, he's gotta do a what's the word? Translation? No. What is it when you translate money? Forget what it is.
Exchange?
What is it called? Exchange. That's right. He's always dealing with the exchange rate for Norwegian kroner into the U.S. So I'm not exactly sure how much he came in with, but I'm going to call it 1971. Thank you very much for that, Christian N. And a note here, hi BNG, thanks for a great month of podcasting. You keep me smiling, laughing, and informed while working outside in the most inhospitable weather conditions of October in Norway. Yeah, that's a cold gig, I'll tell you what. Hat off for Gonzo for going solo so many times. Yes, indeed. And happy belated birthday, Basil. Many greetings to all Canarians from Norway. Thank you very much, Christian, the Canarian from Norway.
I am curious, Christian N. Is it is the Norwegian wood? Is it good?
What?
Okay.
Norwegian wood?
Yeah. There's a very, very famous Beatles song. It's called Norwegian Wood.
Oh.
This bird has flown. You don't know about that one?
No, it doesn't sound appropriate for a family show, but we can move on. Next up, we're going to thank producer Tammy C.
Thank you, Tammy C.
Thank you, Tammy C. Came in a couple of times, one of them being for 1044. Ooh. And Tammy C says, okay, listeners, you know you enjoy the show. Become a producer. Basil and Gons need you. We all need you. Huh, yeah, listen to Tammy C here. Speaking truth to power. But also brings up a good point. When you produce the show, remember, you're not just producing for Gons and I so we can survive and continue doing the show at this breakneck pace, but you're also producing the show for the other producers. Everybody gets value when you produce the show. So it's not just for us, but you're also sustaining the show for the rest of the producers to enjoy. Just another great thing to remember, and that's why we make them public and thank them. Next up, thank you, Tammy C.
Thank you, Tammy C. Appreciate it.
There it is. Next up, we got Sir Moore of Night of the Burning Chariots with 1111, 158 episodes in a row. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Moore.
Next, we got Sir Alex Protocol V2, Night of the Burrian Protocol, 94 episodes in a row.
Thank you so much.
Pocketful of Sevens says, it is Friday. Any luck finding a...
There you go. We can keep playing with the Friday thing.
Any luck finding a PayPal alternative? I'll keep doing this until then. Yes, please keep doing this until then. Yes, we had some confusion about that too. I fielded some emails, people thinking that we were already banned from PayPal. I will say we are not already banned from PayPal. So if you are not supporting the show because of that, please continue to support the show until we have our other accounts up and going. We've gotten tips. The most common tip I got was Align Pay, which apparently, allegedly, is sort of a freedom-minded payment platform. So we'll probably hook up an Align Pay, but we are also going through the process to just be able to accept, credit cards and stuff directly, directly, like without a service in between us. Mm-hmm. Well, there is a service in between us, but you won't need to make an account somewhere.
Yeah,
you could just do it right on the web page or whatever. So a couple of things in the works, folks. Stay posted, stay tuned. But yes, until those are ready to go, we still need producership to come through PayPal, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The one thing that's dragging our heels a little bit is we are so, all the supply drop, all the everything is going through PayPal. So to kind of immediately shut down our PayPal account is impossible. We would be in the doghouse if we did that.
Yeah.
So
it's
stay tuned.
Changing the wheels on a moving bus.
It is exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Changing the wheels on a moving car is very difficult.
What would be great is if we can come up with our own Canary wheels, kind of like the Micronation. I know you missed that episode, but I know you know about the story. The Kingdom of Molossia out in Nevada. Mm-hmm. They have their own currency, the Valora, and Toll House. It's based on cookie dough.
Right. Yeah, if only we could pay our rent in cookie dough coin.
If we lived in the Republic of Molossia, we could.
Yeah, I've been trying to get you to move out of California for about 5 years, and to get you to move out to a random micronation in Nevada seems like a losing proposition.
No, you got to tell me that I can make my own.
You can. I'll tell you now. You can make your own, whatever you want. You're a sovereign human being.
You're right.
Okay, let me do a quick little refresh, make sure we didn't miss anybody during the show here, and then we can move on. Nope, nobody new. Thank you very much to all of our producers who came in the amount of 777 or more, which entitles you to have a note read on the show. We got a few more people to thank who came in under that amount. Let's thank them now, starting with Sarah T.
Sarah T. Thank you.
Yes, Sarah T. came in with a monthly producership. Thank you very much, Sarah T.
Appreciate it.
Next up, we got Sir Casey the Shield Knight, 224 episodes in a row.
Oh yeah, Streakalicious.
Did we ever get the 223 jingle?
We did not. It was very sad. It was a very sad
Jingle
moment.
Boys and girls. What's going on?
I don't know what happened. It's okay. It's all right.
That's a bummer. Yeah. Next up, we got Sir Scott Knight of Truth, 213 episodes in a row.
Oh yeah, Streakalicious.
Yeah, Sir Scott's right there.
What?
I said Sir Scott's right there behind Sir Casey. He's almost at the 223. So
11 episodes. We got 11 episodes. Next up, Sir Darren Knight of the Hungry Panda, 64 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Sir Darren.
Next up, we got Dame Gale, Canary Whisperer, and Lady of X's and O's, 189 episodes in a row.
Women rule.
Indeed, we got Runk Smash 9 episodes in a row, which is something.
Where'd you find this?
Hey, you lit now.
You're lit now. That's right. It's interesting. We're at an interesting time in the value for value model in that we've got our long-time streakers. So the frontier keeps expanding.
Yeah.
But we don't have any low-number streakers, which means we have not had besides Runk Smash, who's 9 episodes in, we have not had any streakers. Right. He resets because he likes the jingles at the bottom of the list. So he doesn't count. He counts for other things, but not for that. But other than, Runk Smash, it's been 64 episodes since anyone new has started a streak.
Yeah, it's in sports.
I wonder if something happened.
It's in sports. It's a weak bench. We got a weak bench.
Did we change? Yeah, did we change something? See, this is the hard part. It's hard to figure out what we changed for 64 episodes ago.
Yeah.
That would have caused such an event to happen.
Yeah, well, inflation may be one reason.
Well, I can't think about it. Yeah, right. Yeah, I wonder if we counted 64 episodes, if that would almost directly line up with, let's see, it's about Twitch? 12 episodes a month.
Yeah, when did we get
64? That's 5 months. So that is 5.5 months.
We've been off Twitch for 5 months.
We're in October, so 5.5 months from October would have been, my calendar is going slow. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Counting.
Puts it at about April, about mid-April, since anybody started a streak, or maybe sustained a streak for very long. All right. April. That is about when the inflation really got rolling.
Yeah.
When they started admitting that it was a problem was about April. Great. Thanks, Biden. All right. That's it. I think that's it. We ain't got anything else. Let's keep this show going, huh?
Did we do Veronica D?
Oh, no, we didn't. I thought we did, but maybe not. Here's Veronica D. Veronica D is here, came in, had a little hiccup in the streak. But as we've said before, and as we've done before, as long as somebody comes back and makes up for it and has a good response to a whoopsie daisies, we're pretty laid back when it comes to keeping that going. So Veronica D, 189. Thank you very much.
Women rule.
Thank you, Veronica D.
And there you go. That's it. Thank you, everybody who supports this show. Truly, with your time, your talent, or your treasure, we can only do it with your help. We don't, a lot of other shows, they also take donations and premium memberships and stuff, but also advertise to you. They do both, double dipping in the value for value and the corporate money. Not here. This is no corporate money. So if you enjoy the show, you want it to keep going, head on over to canarycryradio@gmail.com. That's when you hit the jingle.
That's an email address, though.
Oh, sure. Hit the jingle.
canarycryradio.com/support.
See, the jingle corrects me. If I get it wrong, the jingle corrects me. And people remember the jingle, not what I say. And thank you all for your patronage.
Shut up and take my money. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage.
Yes, it's wake-up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
It's Corona time. COVID-19. COVID-19. COVID-19.
COVID-19.
COVID-19. COVID-19. Coronavirus.
Vaccine, number one way.
Oh, yeah.
It is number one way. Now, yes. I don't think we need to kick off YouTube, do we?
Nah, I don't think so.
I think the stories kind of speak for themselves here.
Yeah, this is independent.co.uk, I believe. So keeping that in mind. Remember who was the owner of that outlet there? There was a Russian oligarch, son of a Russian oligarch, a former KGB.
KGB, yeah. It was specifically a KGB guy.
Right.
His son and a Saudi prince.
And a Saudi prince, right.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. The headline here is "Believing COVID is a hoax acts as gateway to other conspiracy theories."
Oh, no.
Study says.
COVID's a gateway drug.
It's a gateway drug.
Other tinfoil hats. First, you're going to start questioning the society that motivates a big pharma and political marriage of money-making policies. And next, you'll be just screaming out about the lizard people.
The false belief that the COVID pandemic was a hoax can serve as a gateway for people to believe in other conspiracy theories, according to researchers. People convinced the virus...
Hold on.
Yes.
I just want to state, this is very interesting. The false belief, and that's fine, that the COVID pandemic was a hoax. Yeah. That is such a general term.
It is very loaded. Yeah, you're right.
It's a very loaded general term, even for non-conspiracy believers. What does that mean? Was it fake? Did it not exist? Was it, there's just a lot there. It's not a very well-written sentence.
No. Yeah, that could be interpreted however
Lots
way
of ways.
You want to interpret it. People convinced the virus was manufactured for quote-unquote sinister reasons were more likely to believe in other false narratives, such as...
For sinister reasons. So they're obviously pointing out the people who think it's microchips or something. But I wonder if that includes, sinister reasons, just like it was for gain of function research and accidentally escaped a lab or something. I wonder if those crazy people, if they're lumped
nuance?
into this.
No, there's no such thing. Nuance in these conversations.
It's not nuance, not subtlety, not complexity. This is the real crazy stuff. Okay.
So they believe the false narratives, other false narratives, if they believe that, such as the 2020 U.S. presidential election being stolen from Donald Trump by voter fraud.
That's interesting. They don't mention the 2016 disproven baseless thing that the Russians...
Nothing existed of the sort.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Don't you remember Trump?
No.
Researchers.
Just so the YouTube moderators know, don't worry. We don't believe any of this crazy stuff. We just listen to Biden, and that's what we believe. But these crazy conspiracy theorists, they're the real danger to democracy here.
Researchers at the University of Ohio in the U.S. said their work suggests that conspiracy theory beliefs prompted by a single event led to increases in conspiratorial thinking over time in what they described as the, quote, gateway conspiracy hypothesis.
That is interesting. I mean, let's make the obvious comparison. They're doing like the marijuana as a gateway drug thing, which sort of the funny quip is like, drinking water is a gateway to beer.
Right.
Right.
The blueprint is very obvious here. It's the same framework being applied.
In this case, it's interesting because it's like not trusting one government entity leads you to not trust other government entities.
I know, which is a natural thing that happens.
That's how trust works. You lose trust in one authority, and you realize other authorities might need to be questioned as well.
Yeah, well, they can't have that. Their entire apparatus relies on trust.
I think it's a shame. I think everybody should trust, specifically Susan over at YouTube. I think she should
is so trustable.
She should be able to decide what is true, and I trust Susan.
Yeah, and PayPal too. PayPal can tell us what's
Do I need to say it louder and more so Susan can hear me, or Susan?
No, I think it's clear.
YouTube moderators, I'm telling you, just tell me what to think. I'm here.
Okay, so these conspiracy theorists, they're speculating on what's going on here. So let's continue with the article. Quote, it's speculative, but it appears that once people adopt one conspiracy belief, it promotes distrust in institutions more generally. It could be government, science, the media, whatever. Russell Fazio, professor of psychology at Ohio State, senior author at Ohio University, said. So yeah, the conspiracy theorists are speculating, but then the professor of psychology is also speculating that right. What happens is that once you adopt one, which is not a crazy thing, but okay, all right, good stuff. Quote,
no, I know he's really hedging his bets on this one, isn't he?
I know. Quote, once you start viewing events through that distrustful lens, it's very easy to adopt additional conspiracy theories, he added.
No kidding. That is great. I am glad that somebody's really figuring this out. And that's why, of course, I just believe whatever Susan tells me to believe, or Biden, or Daddy Fauci, or whatever. But like with like flat earthers, or I won't even, not even flat earth. Take that back. Scratch the record. Moon landing. Stuff, and people talk about the moon landing people as if they're so crazy, right? I always defend it, even in groups of people that doesn't gain me any points with, specifically for the thing that I kind of like about it is that at its very core, it's a distrust of authority. It's a distrust of NASA. It's a distrust of that, and it's a very scientific way of thinking because you're just trusting that the science from somebody else is true. And if you don't trust authority, then it's easy to kind of to find other cracks in the wall that they've been building for you. Right. And I've been surprised, even when I'm talking to the most people like me who believe Susan, believe Biden, believe the Fauci, everything. If you put it in those terms and you just say, hey, they just don't trust authority, suddenly it's kind of like a cool it's kind of like a cool punk rock thing to be into conspiracy theories.
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Javier Granados Samayoa, first author who completed the work while a graduate student in psychology at Ohio State, said that the field of conspiracy theory research is quote-unquote relatively young. Yeah, you know why? Because academics has completely ignored the facts. There's a lot of facts that don't fit the mold. They just get ignored instead of addressed. That's why
I've been thinking I should go back to school and start studying conspiracy psychology.
I think you and I both deserve an honorary doctorate.
An honorary or something. Let us see. This is where we got to write the book. So we got to write the book, and then we get to the speaking tour, and then we get the honorary PhD.
Yeah. What is it with the book? Can't just talk. I got to put it on paper.
You gotta have a book. Yeah, nobody cares unless you have a book. Man.
Why invoke us to do those spells upon the masses? Anyway.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, but let's continue with this article. That you're about to send me off into a whole other thing.
Tailspin. But if, quote, you read interviews or forums frequented by conspiracy theorists, you see a phenomenon where people tend to go down the rabbit hole after something happens in their life that triggers general interest in conspiracy theories, he added. Okay.
He could take out general interest in conspiracy theories and put in distrust of authority.
Authority, yeah. Quote, with COVID-19, there was this large event that people could not control, so how could they make sense of it? One way is by adhering to conspiracy theories. Okay, I'm not going to comment too much for their study.
See, adhering.
I know,
adhering. Yeah. This is the problem. The conspiracy psychology industry is being established by non-conspiracy people. These are not people who have had experience with conspiracy theories. They're just
it's just outside the ivory towers and therefore bad. Like, it doesn't matter what it is.
They do not have the insight. They really need some more insight. Give us a call.
Let's see what they did. For their study published in the PLOS1 journal, the researchers asked 501 participants in a June 2020 survey to answer questions assessing their beliefs in COVID-19 conspiracy theories, political ideology, and what is called conspiracist ideation, or one's overall affinity for conspiracy theories. Aha, we have
distrust in authority.
We have a tool. We have a measuring stick. Therefore, we must be official. Participants gave their answer. That is the magic trick right there, by the way, to create the metric and somehow you become the authority.
Right. Yeah. Create your own measurement, and then you control the knowledge base.
Right. Participants gave their answers on a 5-point scale ranging from quote unquote definitely not true to definitely true, to rate statements such as some UFO sightings and rumors are planned or staged in order to distract the public from real alien contact.
Well, obviously.
And, quote,
definitely not true.
New and advanced technology which would harm current industry is being suppressed.
I mean, that's just true.
You conspiracy theorist.
That's not even a conspiracy. That's... The way that is worded is so undeniably true that to say that it's not true, you know what it really is? It's just a measurement of compliance.
Yeah, the very people that would lose their authority are asking the questions, like, putting out the feelers, like, 6 months later, in December 2020, 107 of those same participants again responded to statements gauging their level of conspiratorial thinking. Researchers further assessed conspiratorial ideation by asking participants to report the extent to which they believed that there had been extensive voter fraud in the 2020 presidential election. The results of the analysis showed that participants who reported greater belief that the SARS-CoV-2 virus was released for dark purposes and that the severity of the COVID-19 disease was blown out of proportion also reported greater belief that the 2020 election had been stolen from Mr. Trump.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
And that's not even, again, it's you make up the measurement and you control the conversation.
The political.
Because they are comparing, or they're asking, comparing. They're comparing conspiracy theories in the same realm. Because what you need to do is in the same political ideology. What you need to do is compare conspiracy theories in opposite ideologies, because there are conspiracy theories on the left as well. Russiagate being one of them, one that has been disproven and found at the highest levels of authority. If you want to appeal to authority, Russiagate has been disproven by the system. And I dare you to compare some of these questions with left-leaning conspiracy theories and see where that gets you. Shield Maiden for Christ in the chat says, why would it be abnormal to distrust someone after you catch them lying? Exactly. You catch someone lying, you start to not trust them.
It's not lying. It's called marketing.
Yeah, it's called science. We were moving at the speed of science.
Oh, the speed of science, yes.
Let's finish this out here.
There's a couple other things happening in the COVID front, but these.
There was one
China.
last little bit.
Oh,
there's one last little bit that I thought was important. Yeah.
Okay, yes.
And compared to their baseline conspiracist ideation measured in the June survey, COVID skeptics had higher levels of general endorsement of conspiracy theories 6 months later. And this is interesting because we experienced this in our own numbers, Cons, which is COVID was such a questionable set of information coming down from on high, coming down from authorities, that it really opened up, it awoke a lot of people to a lot of things. Like COVID really was the entry level.
Yeah, COVID was the gateway.
Well, as they're saying, it was COVID, and the way that it was handled by the authorities that opened up distrust to authority.
I actually think that was also that whole thing with this awakening and the counter movement is all part of the greater agenda as well. I don't think that the social engineers were caught by surprise that there was this uprising and the awakening and all this kind of stuff. It's why they were able to ride
demonization.
Right.
Yeah. It was part of the plan. You trigger the skeptics and then demonize the skeptics. You make it too costly to be skeptical of a narrative, and that's how you weed out the non-compliant.
Well, plus, plus it creates that subculture, that sub-society, which I think we're seeing really with the Elon takeover of Twitter is a big move in that. It's a very animal farm moment, where the animals that are left outside are entering the house, the farm, the barn.
Right.
And plus Kanye West too, same thing. He's doing his own thing. He's pushing back. The banks are dropping him, and all these big corporate sponsors are dropping him. Well, he's making his own thing. They're being forced into creating these sub. So this is a point that I wanted to make from other stories, but. We've heard a lot in the political conversation about how the globalism is dead, right? Oh, the globalism it's gone. Well, not really. It's just changed. Like the power structures.
There's a lot of talk about that.
It went from sort of a public, institutional form of globalism to really private businesses, corporations, individuals, and so that it's sort of just a shift in the move. So I don't know. I think all of it is part of the plan, and the social engineers knew the reaction would happen, and an uprising would happen, and we would get mobility.
And if they didn't know, they learned quickly.
Well, if you want change, you got to create the pressures societally to create that change, and you don't want to force the change. You want the change to happen naturally. You want the people to make the change.
Exactly. You got to make it seem like it's their idea.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
It's that a good gaslighter makes it think like it's your idea.
Yeah.
That sentence didn't make sense. All right.
Sink in,
what else
baby.
you got?
Let it sink in. So pertaining to COVID here, there's a couple Chinese updates.
Chinese news. It comes from China. 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 It's not racist at all, no.
Chinese news!
Yeah. This is livemint.com and the headline here. Tastes like milk tea. Here
Yummy.
comes China's needle-free inhalable COVID-19 vaccine.
Sure.
Love
Why not?
science. I love it. In what looks to be the first in the world, Shanghai began dispensing an inhalable COVID-19 vaccine on October 26th. According to a posting on an official city social media account, the free booster dose of the vaccine, a mist that is breathed in via the lips, is being made available to those who have already had vaccinations. Only those vaccinated can get them, Basil. The unvaccinated can't gain access to the mist.
But it tastes like milk tea, though.
Before loosening tight pandemic restrictions that are slowing the economy and pulling China further away from the rest of the globe, China wants more individuals to receive booster shots. 90% of Chinese... Are there people in America that don't see the parallel between the narrative about, the lockdowns and the this and the that with how open communist Chinese do things? Or is that just is that lost on a lot of people? I don't know.
Gons, that is so 2020, my friend.
I'm sorry. 90% of Chinese people had completed their vaccinations as of mid-October, and 57% had had a booster dose. Because they are simpler to deliver, such quote-unquote needle-free vaccines are expected to increase vaccination rates in nations with weak health systems. They might also convince those who dislike getting injected in the arm to have an immunization. Is there anybody that likes it? I mean, I guess maybe if you're...
I'm sure there is.
Yeah, Joe seems to like it. I don't know, Joe, he's gotten a lot of those publicly. People at a community health center were seen in a video broadcast online by a Chinese official media agency inserting the short nozzle of a translucent white cup into their lips. According to the text that accompanied the image, people hold their breath for 5 seconds after slowly breathing, and the total process takes 20 seconds. Yeah, it just looks like you're drinking out of a cup or something, or just, I don't know. There's nothing too crazy about it. Non-needle vaccines efficacy hasn't been thoroughly studied. The Inhalable vaccine was approved by Chinese regulators in September, but only as a booster shot after trials revealed that it stimulated an immunological response in persons who had already received 2 doses of a different Chinese vaccine. Quote, "It was like drinking a cup of milk tea," the Wall Street Journal quoted a Shanghai resident as saying in the video. Quote, "When I breathed it in, it tasted a bit sweet." According to Dr. Vinita Ball, a vaccine administered as a mist may stop the virus before it spreads to the rest of the respiratory system. However, this would partly depend on the size of the droplets. The immunologist from India believes the larger droplets would train defenses in areas of the mouth and neck, while tiny ones would penetrate further into the body. There you go. That's
okay. It. Sounds nice.
Yeah, this is
sounds easily sort of weaponized too. I mean, why even tell people if you could just mist them?
This is a whole different thing. The Mist, the semi-horror movie. Mm-hmm. This is like the real life version.
You mean the M. Night Shyamalan? Was it M. Night Shyamalan?
I don't remember. I just remember it. It was scary. It was supposed to be scary. The mysterious
the mist.
It's gonna come get you. Wasn't that part of like an old Twilight Zone episode or something? Somebody in the chat would know.
I don't recall that.
Yeah. Seems like it would have been a thing. Yeah, so there you go. China. Blueprint for the rest of the world. We're just going to be drinking,
Sounds yummy. Seems to be working out okay.
Yeah. Vaccinations.
Okay, we're kind of quickly falling behind here, so I would like to hit one more, unless you have something else.
No, go for it.
Okay. So this one's about science. We're sticking with some science.
Okay.
No jingle for that?
Knew some science?
I don't know. I'm looking at our notes here. It looks like there was a jingle planned, but maybe not. There it is. And it's Fauci, our buddy. So newsroom.ucla.edu with $7 million grant from NIH, UCLA students to study if brain stimulation during sleep can bolster memory.
We skipped one thing in the China section.
That's okay. That's okay.
Good one, though. It's a good one.
We'll survive. You can bring it next time. It'll be great. And as NIH funding, kind of is a hot topic nowadays, people are paying more attention. So let's pay attention here. NIH funding a UCLA survey. Sleep plays an important role in how the brain consolidates short-term memories from the previous day into enduring ones. But exactly how that process occurs remains a mystery.
Science likes mysteries.
A new study led by UCLA scientists could help answer that question. Their research will aim to identify the electrical activity that occurs as the brain receives information and then test whether targeted, gentle electrical stimulation to the brain can strengthen a specific memory when that information is processed later. Lead researcher Dr. Itzhak Fried, a professor of neurosurgery and director of UCLA's epilepsy surgery program, said the study could advance how scientists understand and enhance the neural mechanisms involved in memory formation. That information could be critical at a time when the world's aging population is poised to intensify the already stark toll of memory disorders. Quote, memory to a large extent makes us who we are, and we know neurological disorders like Alzheimer's disease are going to become more and more prevalent. Ooh, we know this, Gons. We know. You know what I learned recently that I'd never heard before, but apparently isn't brand new information? Dementia is now being called diabetes type 3 or type 3. Type 3 diabetes is dementia.
Really?
So they're saying that dementia is actually a type of diabetes. It's related to sugar, and how we process sugar is what makes people demented or have dementia, which is sort of the starter disease to Alzheimer's.
Yeah. Well, and the one of the ingredients for our poor health.
Everything?
Yeah, everything.
Sugar?
Yeah.
Yeah. The study is funded by a 5-year, $7 million grant from the National Institutes of Health. It builds on previous research by Fried, in which he followed the activities of single cells in the human brain using electrodes implanted in the brains of people with epilepsy. In the study published in July, Fried and colleagues reported that the regions of the brain involved in hearing sound are highly active during sleep. The findings, I could have told you that. The findings suggested that there could be ways to use auditory stimulation to enhance memory during sleep. In the new study, UCLA researchers will again use electrodes to track people's neural activity to pinpoint the electrical signatures of specific memories. Fried's team is working with Vwandi Roy-Chowdhury, a professor of electrical and computer engineering. Ooh, we're getting cybernetic, baby, at the UCLA Samueli School of Engineering, who designs artificial intelligence algorithms that mimic the human brain's neural networks. AI software designed by Roy Chowdhury will monitor people's brain activity as they watch a video, with the goal of identifying patterns in how neurons respond to certain events, characters, or emotions on the screen. Then, while the study participants are sleeping, the software will scan for electrical signatures to determine when the brain is replaying that memory, at which point Fried's team will administer targeted electrical stimulation aimed at solidifying that memory. Dun, dun, dun.
It's like they're branding memories into your neurons.
Well,
like
thank you for bringing that up, because we have been following dream advertising, the idea of dream advertising, for quite some time, including, I believe it was Coors Light. Was it Coors Light? I think it was Coors Light had a I could be wrong, but I think it's Coors Light had a program. It was like a PR marketing campaign where they gave you a video to watch before bed, and the idea was that it would, help you dream about Coors Light, advertised to you at night.
It was Coors during the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And, that one was kind of a joke, but by then we had been talking about dream advertising for quite some time.
Yeah.
And really, the way that they describe their experiments here sounds exactly like dream advertising. Because what are people doing before they go to bed? They're watching Netflix. If you're like me, you've got a 80-inch big screen TV screwed to your ceiling over your bed, so you don't have to crane your neck to watch Netflix, and you just sort of let the corporate programming wash over you as you fall asleep, and then you sort of become some sort of cybernetic robot that has one sort of protocol, and that is consume, 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 obey, obey, obey. And you become a nice little cog in society, even if you're off the grid. It's possible, folks. But in all seriousness, people are doing this. They're watching Netflix, and we just saw that Netflix is going to be introducing ads. So people, they'll have their dose of ads before they go to bed. They fall asleep. And then maybe their little Neuralink there senses when they are thinking or whatever, or dreaming about the advertisement, and then reinforces it. It creates sort of like a feedback loop about whatever piece of media you just watched that they want you to remember. So this is maybe the most dystopian piece of experimentation that they are quite open about, and can be used, to some real, truly techno dystopian, like Blade Runner level Black Mirror corporatization of our mind, corporate colonization rather of our very dreams. So that's very fun to live in a world that this is happening.
Well, yeah, big pharma, especially with so many people in the general population just believing conspiracy theories about the pandemic and COVID and everything else. Ooh. We need a way to get to them. So what's left? Their dreams.
And it doesn't even have to be advertisements. It could be news. You watch the news, you watch a video where Fauci is telling you the truth before you go to bed, and then you fall asleep, and your little implant, or maybe it's your smart pillow, senses when you are thinking about that Fauci video, and then starts the feedback loop, enforces that memory. It's really as far as like a social engineer is concerned, this is the holy grail.
Oh yeah. There's a couple things that jumped out at me, just details, my crazy brain. Dr. Itzhak Fried, I'm just curious if there's any connection to Sam Bankman-Fried, the one who's been taking over all the crypto stuff. Also, the building that this was conducted, the research, is it's named UCLA Samueli School of Engineering, right? Now, Samueli is a guy, locally, has a lot of buildings named after him around the Orange County, LA area. It looks like including the Samueli School of Engineering. And I remember Samueli because he got in trouble back in the late 2000s for stock option backdating. And the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, caught him. He admitted to his faults. But he he accepted a plea deal, and then he paid like $12 million in fines, so he doesn't have to go to jail. So where's the protest to take his name off of the engineering school, UCLA? Come on, you have a corrupt money guy named after your whole engineering school, but I guess nobody cares.
Yeah, well,
they're researching dream mind control, so it's all okay. It's all good.
So before we go into the break, Guns, just an update on the Elonification of Twitter.
Yes.
Hashtag I stand with ISIS is now trending.
Oh gosh.
And again, it's just people saying, Elon, if you believe in free speech, let us post ISIS beheading videos. What? You don't know what free speech means. Let us post beheadings. Of course, these are your baristas, your sort of professional Etsy cross-stitchers, your political savants, things like this, as these people, and then sort of a sarcastic version of it. But there you go. It's trending. Elon letting it trend. There you go, folks.
Oh, man. What are we going to do without any guardrails?
I don't know. Society will collapse.
It's going to collapse.
We better take a break to think about it.
We better. Yeah, a break will help us. Please help us, Elon. Yeah, let's take a break.
Break.
This is a break. Don't just consume the content, but become the content. Become the content. Take a break. It's a break to thank our producers who come in with their talent. Don't just consume the content. Provide value back by building the culture behind the community here at Canary Cry News Talk. All we ask is that you make it about the show. And we have many ways you can support the show with your talent, including with audio production.
Audio production.
We got Brother G going through a few more of his isolations and the big good. Oh, excuse me. That is an interesting sounding thing back here. A bunch of jingles and ISOs. This one is called Energy Crisis.
We solved an energy crisis the world had no answer for.
Sounds like Transformers or something.
Yeah. Or Ultron.
Ultron. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Or Greta. Maybe it's Greta.
Yeah, Greta. Greta in her true form.
I think that was Greta.
How dare you?
Thank you, Brother G.
We have a couple more from him. Global famine.
This is going to be a global famine. We don't want to cause a panic. We want control.
There's no such thing.
There's no such thing as control. And
you went on sounds like you had a wonderful movie night and was
we've been going through these 54 ISOs. It sounded like he had the recorder ready and this one's called Power Surge.
Take it. It will give you strength, help you on your journey, if you can withstand the power surge.
You know what we need to do is make this available on a public Dropbox folder and make it available to the Jingle Boys and Girls.
You know that
so they can take the clips and make them into something.
Yeah, I mean every jingle we have.
Why don't you just make that folder public? Just hit the old public thing and we can post it in the Discord.
Yeah, it's in email though. He attached. These are all attachments in an email at the moment.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we'll upload them and make it public. We'll send it to our people.
Yep. Thank you very much, Brother G. We have
somebody has to remind me to do this. I'm going to forget.
Yep. That's very
Send
true.
me an email, please.
Yes, emails. We got a piece here from Marty B.
Biden's your Marty B jingle.
Marty B came with the note. He says, "I'm sorry I don't have a jingle. That's okay. But would please play this encouraging song at the end of the show." And it is a track titled, I'm getting it now, Tribulation. So you want to hear a couple seconds of it?
Okay.
Play. Why isn't it playing? It's not playing. I don't know. Marty B, it's not playing, man. What's going on?
Oh no.
What is happening? Okay, hold on. Let me try another thing. Oh, there we go.
You know what?
Just took a little bit. The bigger file, I guess. Here we go. Oh, yeah. You got to wait till the end of the show to hear the whole song.
Fun.
Yeah. Tribulation.
Thank you very much, Marty B.
Thank you, Marty
I just
B.
realized, I think I was just treating the audience as if they were like a open source, crowdsourced human Siri. Siri, remind me to make the Dropbox public.
I was going to say.
Audience, somebody remind me, please, make that Dropbox public for the Jingle Boys.
The tone you use to talk to robots,
No, that wasn't the tone. See, that's the difference. I was talking to humans, as it should be, not a robot. I'm going to start doing that. We'll see if it works. My open source digital assistant. Remind me I have a doctor's appointment on Monday, please. Thank you.
Yeah, let's do some art.
One art, please.
We kick it off with Dame Allie of the Skillet Nation.
One art, please. Another one from Allie now. Here it is.
It is accompanied by a haiku, or with a haiku. Communication-shaped reality, a Dame Ebony Blaze haiku. It seems Klaus has died. No, not that one. Krippendorf, 90, of Philly. Prolific author and researcher, large-minded, diverse achievements, advanced notion that language shapes reality, quite influential, create beauty through randomness, find symmetry within chaos, use is the Philly counterpart to the Pittsburgh Yins.
Oh, I see. And here we go. We have a magnificent pencil portrait headshot of this Klaus, not the Klaus. This Klaus has much more hair than Klaus Schwab. He's got hair on his head, got hair on his face, got hair going up and down, over the lip, all around. Very hairy Klaus here. And this is the Klaus who was the cybernetics godfather, as well as marketing. And we have done a pretty deep dive on this guy a long time ago. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but he used to be sort of, back when I did the value for value pitch, I would involve a lot more talk about how advertising and the occult have actually some pretty close ties as far as who is the godfathers of advertising are, who the godfathers of the occult are. And this was another example. He's the godfather of cybernetics, and who also used his, crossover skills to become one of the godfathers of advertising. And so when we talk about the value for value model and not taking corporate money, it's also sort of a revolution against occult influences, against psychological influences, and against cybernetic influences. All these same guys went into developing advertising and marketing industries, and this was one of the fellas, this other Klaus fella, and really excellently done portrait here. Maybe it's on the list of Ali's best work for sure.
Yeah, it feels like he's lives on in this image, especially with those lizard eyes,
Yeah, it's Krippendorf, Klaus Krippendorf, if anybody wants to look into him a little more. Very fascinating rabbit trail to go down.
Yeah, Klaus Creepydorf. Next up, Sir Dove. Thank you very much, by the way, Dame Ali and Dame Ebony Blaze for the haiku. We're going to
By the way, this is why you stick around for the art breaks, because you'll get breadcrumbs like Klaus Krippendorf, that you need to go look into.
Yeah, Creepydorf. Next up, we have Sir Dove, Knight of Respeltia.
One art piece from Dove.
That's right. We've got the Canary Cry Phoenix Meetup flyer. Thank you very much, Sir Dove. What a wonderful service that you provide for the Meetup people.
Yep.
We've got the Canary Cry Phoenix Meetup flyer November 4th and 5th. Get more details. The email address did not make it onto the flyer, but if you go to canarycrymeetups.com, you can find the email there. We've got a beautiful skyline of Phoenix, Arizona. And you've got the sun up in the top right-hand corner with a very sort of diabolical laugh. He is just stricken with hilarity at
where's Bill Gates?
How brutal the sun can be.
Help us.
In Phoenix, I believe they call that the Valley of the Sun. I could be wrong.
It is, yeah.
And then the bottom left, we have a derpy-eyed canary wearing a cool southwestern hat and a T-shirt. But you'll notice he is sweating. Is going to be hot over there. Well, it shouldn't be too hot in Phoenix in November, but it'll be hotter than probably where you are, dear listener. And he's got some nice sweat stains around his neck and his pits, but that's why you'll go ahead and find some air conditioning down there in Phoenix. Thank you very much, Sir Dove.
Thank you, Sir Dove. He has a note. The note says, peace. For today's artwork, I made a flyer for the Phoenix meetup next month. If Steven needs to change the date or add any info, just let me know. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you know. I'll keep praying for yins.
There we go.
Yeah, we updated the email address for Steven on canarycrymeetups.com.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much, Sir Dove. Next up, we have Christine C., who has a piece of art here and has a note. Hey, Basil and Gons, just wanted to submit a piece of art for the show. This piece is supposed to represent how it is the enemy's plan to divide and conquer, but it leads to destruction. I chose red and blue because oftentimes they divide, along political lines. However, the scriptures say in James 1:8, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Often people waver between two opinions, pursuing success on earth and following the Most High. Let us be reminded in these trying times to be single-minded in our focus. Then she quotes Matthew 6:27 through 33. And which of you, by being anxious, can add a single hour to his life or to his span of life? And why are you anxious about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin, yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. But if God so clothed the grass of the field, which today is alive and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? Therefore do not be anxious, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the Gentiles seek after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them all. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Be blessed, Christine C. Thank you very much, Christine C.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and here we have a beautiful piece of art that sort of represents this double-mindedness. We've got sort of a combination X-ray of a skull and a brain inside the skull. The left and the right are divided into red and blue and red, and there's a sort of a storm, a lightning storm going on within the brain. It was a very stark, very powerful image. Thank you very much, Christine C.
Thank you, Christine C. And it's it's got the James 1:8 there, divide and conquer. Very nice, very clean. I like the clean piece here.
Very
Appreciate
clean,
it.
beautiful.
We got one more here from Dame Miss G, beauty of the OV and the deep rivers.
Oh, I must have missed this one.
And she has a note. Hello, Basil and Gons. Small life update. I got a grant to go back to school. Woo!
A grant? That sounds very Canadian of you.
Still will continue helping you guys while in school. I've been wanting to get into the word more lately and had inspiration to do hand lettering of scripture. And so that's what the art piece is, a bunch of words. It's scripture.
I think it's a piece of scripture done in sort of a word art, very exciting thing. I'm looking for it. This must have come in on the Proton Mail.
It's in Proton Mail, yeah.
Okay,
I'll continue with the note here. So here goes. I did Isaiah 66, 15 through 16. For behold, the Lord will come with fire and with his chariots like a whirlwind to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword the Lord will judge all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. Many blessings and have a great show. Dame Miss G of the OV. The most uplifting of scriptures, God's judgment upon the world. You know, from a perspective, it can be very uplifting to know that there's actual judgment that's going to take place at a certain point. But yeah, and the art piece is just that. The scriptures there, and a very, I don't know what the word would be, just different. Every word has a different font, and it's very eclectic collection of styles, fonts, all hand done. So very well done. Thank you. Appreciate it. Dame Miss G of the OV and Deep Rivers. Okay, what do we got? We got Microfictions.
Microfiction.
Were you trying to say something during the jingle?
Yeah, I think we had a little Skype whoopsies.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, we're good.
Okay. This first one is from Wrong Smash.
Category 2 outbreak. All citizens must lock down. Shrieks a siren and red lights begin flashing. Chris runs behind him. A mechanical gallop rises. Looking over his shoulder, he sees a yellow dog robot with tentacles where the head should be.
That's terrifying.
What a terrifying image. That is a terrifying image.
I think
I want to see that.
Well,
I want to see a robot dog, the Spot, the yellow one, but instead of the head or the claw, it has just a horrific amount of robotic tentacles coming out.
What you need to do is go back to episode 552, look at the FLIPPY update. It was the inflatable spaghetti style noodle fingers robot.
FLIPPY. Oh, I saw it.
Yeah, and it can like grip things and do all kinds of stuff. I think that was inspiration for the
in dove style or something, and it's feeding, because tentacled creatures, most of them are sort of bottom feeders or octopi. They are hunters,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Runk Smash. Horrifying as always. The next one came from Irene here, and she did send a little note saying, my microfiction turned into a macrofiction, and I'm looking at it, and it is a macrofiction, but because we have been developing the microfiction art form, what I'm going to do, Irene, is I will read your macrofiction over a series of episodes, because that's the fun part about the microfiction is you got to come back to get the next 240 characters. So I've separated it out in what I believe to be effective microfiction bits, and that's what we will do.
How dare you add your own chapter breaks?
That's part of the producers produce, but we're more of like sort of adjusters of producer content. We got to
adjust your producership.
Yes. We're just making sure it fits into the format of the show, and I think it actually works very well. So let's do it.
Let's do it. Here we go.
Basil emerges from the compound bunker after forwarding the most current warning over the ham radio. There is a new outbreak of yet another deadly disease spread by blood-sucking parasites. He scans his surroundings, letting go of the bunker door, and hears it shut behind him.
Oh, the suspense.
Yes, the suspense of the post-apocalyptic bunker dweller. I love it. Thank you, Irene.
The ham radio reference. Yeah, the ham radio reference is apropos for our next little segment, too.
Indeed, and we should probably get there because we are just about out of people to thank for this break. Remember, if you're a creative person, whether it's in writing or art, visual art, musical art, jingle art, whatever you do, fushigi, juggling, go ahead and create something for the show. Send it in, and we will love to feature it on the show. All you got to do is email it to canarycryradio@gmail.com.
Yes, it's wake-up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
It's cold, Basil. It's cold. Antarctica, go burn. Snowstorm. Antarctica. Ice. Scientists are penguins. Antarctica, they're opening the abyss.
Our thesis continues to be correct.
Yes.
Or proven correct.
I was doing the math, and between when I was sick in September, and then I was traveling, and then I was sick again, I have not been fully engaged in the way that I would prefer in this show for like 5 weeks or something crazy. Yeah. And in that 5 weeks, there's been so many times when I've come across something or had something to say and just simply couldn't do it. Yeah. But today, for those who are aware of our long-standing, long-developing theories about Antarctica and its place in the New World Order, we have a couple of examples of pretty explicit confirmations of that in the mainstream press, starting with theguardian.com. Now, with this one, it's a long article, and it's about something that's very boring. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the opening paragraph really drives home what we've been saying. The headline is, "I'm going to spend 5 months with penguins and no Wi-Fi or running water. Here's why." This is from Mary Hilton. Subheadline, "Working in Antarctica is a wildlife enthusiast's dream, but seeing the reality of the climate disaster up close will be brutal." Will be brutal. They are sort of programmed. They are ready. They're bracing themselves to see climate change at its worst, which is funny because obviously this person has not read anything from actual Antarctic scientists, of which 100% of actual climate scientists who work in Antarctica say that climate change is not affecting Antarctica. But no, this person does not care what the Antarctica climate scientists have to say. They are simply programmed and participating in the mainstream narrative that is literally, look, I come at this with a pretty level head, folks. I'm not, I could barely at this point be called a conspiracy theorist. I just read the news and point out what's wrong.
Conspiracy
This
theorist.
is almost maybe the most conspiratorial piece of thinking that I have, is there is such a discrepancy between the way that Antarctic climate scientists talk about climate change in Antarctica and the mainstream reporting of the issue that I don't think they even care at all. Zero. I think they have a conscious, not even subconscious, a conscious disdain for the actual fact that climate change is not occurring in Antarctica in any sort of disastrous way. And they are straight up lying consciously, I believe.
Oh, it has to be,
because the discrepancy is, it could not be further. They could not be further apart, the truth and what is being reported. But that's beside the point.
I mean, I will say that it's kind of like if you can just imagine those movies where you can time travel back and you have somebody from the ancient times come to our time, and then you tell them that, when it starts raining, when there's thunder and lightning, then it's whatever, some kind of climate change. And then it starts raining and they go, oh my gosh, we've caused climate change or whatever. It's sort of that illusion, the delusion.
A cargo cult. It's like a cargo cult type of thing. Yeah. Anywho, I'm just going to read you this opening paragraph.
Yes, please.
Because it's like they've listened to our entire playlist on the Canary Cry Clips channel of Antarctica updates, of which there are years of them building up now. And they put them all together and put them in their own words. Here it goes. Antarctica holds an almost mythical appeal. Detached from the rest of the world, its beauty is unique. It is a continent that has never seen a war, and where testing military capabilities is strictly forbidden. It is, as the Antarctic Treaty reminds us, a natural reserve devoted to peace and science. And that is a perfect description of what we've been calling Antarctica as we call it the white liberal utopia, which is, the last place on Earth where you won't come in contact with pesky science deniers or pesky, war hawks or pesky. It's the place where rich white liberals can go, feel good about themselves for, being away from all, not just the racists and the things, but also, the not in my backyard type of issues. Antarctica is the place for you. It is heaven on earth, as it's been sort of described other places and here. The rest of this article does go on an incredibly boring story about how this person is going to go study penguins for 5 months.
Studying
and not have
climate systems.
Yes, and how they're affecting penguins and climate change and all this kind of stuff. And they're very scared, very, very scared about how they're going to see, climate change. And this fits, if you've listened to a lot of our Antarctica updates, you'll know that zero of the long-standing climate scientists who live in Antarctica, who are in the zone, none of them say that climate change is affecting, Antarctica in any long-term way, that they do see things. Right, but the things that they see, they're seeing all the time, and it's been like that for hundreds of years, etc. In fact, they even write anti-climate change, rebukes and publish them. And what we've seen is the establishment send down basically climate change shills to go live in Antarctica with a predetermined, whatever. What am I trying to say?
It's like a presupposition.
Predetermined. Yeah, I mean, they're sending people down there to prove scientifically a predetermined result, right? Which is not science. It's the opposite of science. It's literally the opposite of how science should be done. But they're tired of all these pesky Antarctican scientists denying climate change. And so they're sending down their own people. And we've seen them. They sent down an astrobiologist. Remember?
Yeah, a lot of them.
Dr. Ash.
Yeah, a lot of them have researched dark energy too.
Yes,
kept popping up everywhere. Dark energy scientists,
astrophysicists, astrobiologists, dark energy researchers. All these really weird, like sort of, I don't know, esoteric study categories.
The priests
they're sending
of the
them down there,
order.
right? The sort of dark priests trying to send them down there to get the result that they want. And now they're sending sort of a more of a friendly version. They talk about David Attenborough. There's more of a sort of socially acceptable scientist. So anyways, that's boring. But the big point being, it's never seen war. It's a utopia. We're not going to see any weapons blowing up there. And then abc.net.au, this is the Australian Broadcasting Channel. China and Russia are eyeing up Antarctica, and experts say Australia should be more concerned. Watch out, Australia. We've also followed how Australia, New Zealand, they feel a very special responsibility as two of the gateway countries into Antarctica. Antarctica having sort of political and scientific battles with China over their enormous claim to Antarctica. And so they're fighting for it, putting more and more money towards protecting Antarctica from Russia, from China, because they're afraid of the ways that Russia and China will exploit it, not just its beautiful resources, but also use it for war fighting capabilities.
Yeah, and that's why we reported on the last episode, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand is on a trip right now, I think.
Her
Antarctica.
reward.
Yeah, her reward for zero
for
COVID.
Defeating COVID, is to take a little trip.
Down to the ice castle.
Now, I'm going to skip the first few bits of this article because it's just a bunch of history about Australia, Antarctica, and Russia. Mm-hmm. But there's this part here that says, why are they so interested? They being
why are they?
China and Russia. Let's find out. For most of us, Antarctica conjures up images of majestic icebergs and adorable penguins. And while the icy continent is home to some of the world's most breathtaking environmental wonders, it is also the site of untapped resources, oil, gas, minerals, and extensive fishing reserves that many countries want to get their hands on. Of course, not us, Australia or New Zealand. We have no interest in any of those wonderful things that could possibly elevate our place in the world. Sure no, not us. But there remains a divide between the countries that want to keep it pristine, such as Australia and New Zealand. We want to keep it pristine. And the ones that hope to eventually exploit its potential, like China and Russia, as global resources decline and a ban on mining comes up for renegotiation in 2048. But even more crucial, according to Dr. Brady, is that Antarctica has emerged as a site of global strategic importance. Strategic. For example, both China and Russia are looking to use Antarctica to enhance the accuracy of their own GPS systems to rival the United States, which is still the dominant global system. Not us, though. Australia and New Zealand, we have no interest in such things. We just love the penguins. Antarctica is key to their strategic plans as it provides an ideal location to place satellite receivers. Not satellite receivers.
All those
How will the penguins
Russian
survive?
and Chinese memes floating through the air in our pristine Antarctica.
Cannot have such pollution. Dr. Brady says a shifting global order has made Antarctica more strategically important than ever before. And China has developed undeclared military interests there. Undeclared.
Well, if
they're
not
keeping it secret from us, but we're on to you, you sneaky Chinese.
Okay, all right. Actions speak louder than words, but
It's undeclared, but we know they're there. Quote, rising powers, resurgent powers, and countries that wish to have more of a say internationally, not us, not Australia, not New Zealand, we don't care, are looking to places like Antarctica, which are not under the control of one nation, which have opportunities to take advantage of, she says.
Yeah, you got to defend the lesser, the marginalized, and the heart of Gaia, Antarctica, the icy cold heart of Gaia.
Yeah, and the secret entrance to the hollow earth. We cannot have the Chinese and the Russians finding their way into the center of our hollow earth. Anyways, so the we've been seeing Antarctica be set up as a propagandistic tool to further the ongoing sort of power struggle. And within that, propaganda about how China and Russia, specifically, nobody else, just China, just Russia, everybody else is pure of heart, but China and Russia want to take all of its resources and use it to fire missiles and take over GPS stuff, I guess.
Eat all the fish and take all the oil and strip it of resources, not unlike how the UN had done to places like Africa, but we're not going to talk about that. But the one thing that I did notice is that, and this is another sort of sub-thesis that we've been talking about, is that, why is Russia and China, why do they need to set up their satellite communication systems over there in the Antarctica? And it makes me wonder, especially because with the Guardian article, going back to that real quick, the guy's going to spend 5 months with penguins, no Wi-Fi, no running water. Like, what are we preparing for? What kind of situation are they sort of wargaming for? And so in recent weeks, we've heard a lot about the nuke thing, right? Putin nuke, that can certainly be a thing. Last episode, we covered a guy who was chosen to go down and research in Antarctica for climate change. He was a ham radio operator, a young man, 27-year-old man. And so it's kind of like, okay, why was he chosen? Out of all the people, why was the ham radio operator chosen? As if maybe the normal communications network might go down or some crazy thing like that, or some kind of cyber pandemic. And especially if we're thinking about all the satellite communications, we have Starlink and obviously OneWeb and all these companies trying to create that internet from above. And it's a good time for everyone to switch over to the satellite. I know it's already, I know there's internet already happens on satellites, but just in terms of the new infrastructure, if and when the ground communications systems get disrupted somehow, perhaps by a natural disaster or a nuke or whatever it might be. So all the things seem to be trending towards this kind of a post-apocalyptic living survival mode type of deal, which is fun because, the preppers have been talking about that for a long time, but now it's just like mainstream scientists are like, we must prepare for climate change. They're calling it climate change and stuff, but really it feels like it's something else. And then just to add a little bit more, we talked about Jimmy Buffett, your favorite musician ever, doing a cruise down there. And I found an article that was related and it makes a different point. But the article was a few months old from Inside Hook. And the headline is Why Gen Z Loves Jimmy Buffett. And I almost feel like it is Jimmy Buffett, born in 1946. He's part of that generation, people born in the 40s, the Clintons and there's a lot of influential people born in the 40s, post World War, Reconstruction, all that stuff. And I feel like the reason why he's being highlighted in the context of Antarctica is because they're sort of handing off that responsibility and some kind of weird occult ritual to Gen Zs. Like you guys are the next generation, much like the generation that was born in the 1940s that shaped society. So I don't know. Maybe it's my crazy conspiratorial thinking. I think of one conspiracy, I go down the rabbit trail, and all of a sudden I'm believing all kinds of crazy stuff, right?
Yeah, Collins, you really got to stay away from those gateway conspiracies, man.
I know, but it's just
say no.
I just follow breadcrumbs and I look up and I'm just somewhere else. I don't know. It's not me. I'm just following the trail. So, if following the trail is a crime.
No, it is bad. No, I'm going to report you to Fauci.
Oh, okay. Well, Elon, come free this bird then, buddy, as you claim.
Bird, Elon.
Free this canary who's stuck in a cage, can only think outside the cage, can't actually be outside the cage.
Deep cut. All right. Well, there you go,
Deep
everybody.
self-cut.
Deep self-cut. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we hope you tune in again next week on Monday. I can feel my voice getting a little tired, but I think I just made it to the end of the show. And remember, I want to thank our executive producer today. That's executive producer Bush Protector for coming in, making the show happen. And thank you to all of our talented, generous producers coming in with your time, your talent, or your treasure. Remember, folks, it only works with producers. We could not do anything close to what we do now if it were not for the active participation of producers like you. And remember, there's a lot of people who just listen. They don't partake. They don't follow us on Twitter. They really don't participate in any old way. And that's okay. That's about 99% of the people. But if you're one of the 99%, just consider just once. Think
just
about
once.
producing the show.
Be the 1%. For once.
Technically, if every single listener of the show just produced the show once according to their ability to produce the show, nobody would have to do it twice. Now, unfortunately, that's just not how life or the math works out. But consider getting involved, producing the show at least once. We are a bit at a transitional point here. We're coming in. We've been doing this format for almost coming up on 3 years now. And so far, so good. The value for value system has kept us alive. But the world, much like how the world was a different place when we started in 2020, the world is a different place now in almost 2023. And that's the thing with the value for value model. The corporate sort of model for keeping media alive, very slow moving, does not adjust, does not change, does not adapt to a changing world very quickly. But the value for value model adapts, and it adapts not at the speed of science, but at the speed of pretty much every episode. We have an opportunity to adapt. And so I would just invite people out there, whether you're just listeners, maybe you're been producing in one way, maybe try producing another way. The show can only continue with the ongoing participation. And so we invite you to do that. And thank you very much. And we got a few other producers to thank who come in with their time, starting with the Clippies.
Sorry, give me 1 second. I was talking to the child.
So much time. I ranted for so long.
Clipping all those videos. Thanks.
There we go. The Clippies, thank you. They clip the show. They put it up on the Clips channels. They're very, very helpful individuals, human beings of the utmost character. Thank you to producer Emsworth and Faye Liver. And make sure to drop them a little note. Tell them how good they're doing over there at the channel, everybody. Remember, it's not just YouTube for Canary Cry Clips. It's also Odyssey. So go check out Odyssey. And thank you to the Timestampers.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
Yeah, the timestamps are essential to so much of our back-end stuff, and we would be hamstrung if it weren't for producers like Christine C., who did the timestamps for episode 552. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Christine C.
Thank you to our social media gal.
The social media consultant.
Thanks so much.
Social media, follow us.
That's right. Thank you, Dame Miss G of the OV and the Deep Rivers, for making sure the art gets up on the social media. And for the rest of you, make sure to go to canarycrimeetups.com.
Canary Cry Meetup.
You know it. You know it. You love it. Phoenix, Arizona, coming up November 4th and 5th, and Maryville, Indiana, November 5th. And if anybody else out there, look, if there's not a meetup near you, just put one on yourself. It's super easy. Just pick a time, pick a place, tell us about it. If you're lucky, Dove will make you a flyer, and we'll tell the world. And you just show up and watch the Canarians come rolling in. You know, every part of the country is a little bit different, but people have found best friends. They found their spouses. They've found, if nothing else, someone to connect with if things go a little south. And it's just very, very valuable having that kind of fellowship with people. You know, a lot of times you don't even get to have that kind of fellowship with people in your own family or your own church or whatever. So it's our hope that Canarians will get connected and make it more about just a podcast, of course. But, you know, create some real lasting relationships with other people like you. CanaryCrimeMeetups.com. We'll see you at the meetup. Yeah. Gons, it's my understanding you have not read a whole lot of ratings and reviews.
I was saving it for you, but then you kept not being here. So now you have like 50 of them.
We don't need to deflect blame. You're not in trouble. You don't need to prove to anybody.
Don't come at me, bro.
That's what I thought. I'm just saying, yes. So Gons hasn't been reading any. That's totally fine. I'm ecstatic to read some of them. And thank you to everybody who's left ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. It is essential that we have a stream of these coming in, that we get as many as possible. I understand every podcast is asking for it, but it's because it's so important. You know, in the time of the algorithm wars, where we're being stifled here and there and shadow banned and blah, 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 blah. We're all sick of hearing about it and talking about it, frankly. But the Apple Podcast reviews and ratings are pretty much the most effective thing that a regular listener, a regular person can do to affect the way that we are presented to the rest of the world. So I want to thank them now, and I want to encourage, especially those of you listening not live, you're listening on Apple Podcasts. That is the vast majority of you, and the vast majority of you have not left ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. So I encourage you to do that. Please, please, please. I'm going to read a couple just now. This one is from Ragar242. This is back from September. 5 stars. Love this podcast. If you want a balanced review of current events from a biblical perspective with just the right amount of humor, this is the podcast for you. Thank you very much, Ragar242. What a wonderful, that's what I'm looking for.
Can't find it. There it is. Sorry, I was looking for it while you were doing it. There you go.
Yeah, cool. This one's from Franklin Meriwether from September. 5 stars. Review number 33. Great show from a different perspective. Love it. Short, sweet, beautiful, and winky wink to the number 33. Thank you, Franklin. And I got one here from Coffee4MC, again from September. What a great month that was. 5 stars. Informative, inspirational, and fun. 3 of my best qualities, Gons. Canary Cry News Talk has become one of my favorite podcasts. I have close to 100 in my feed. That is a lot of podcasts, Coffee. Coffee for MC, you must be drinking a lot of coffee for MC, because 100 podcasts is truly, and I say this with no sarcasm, I hold back none of my impressive feelings about this. Truly the most incredible list of things I've heard. 100 podcasts. It continues. I find myself looking forward to their 3 episodes each week, knowing I'll find relevant news stories presented with accuracy and insights I'm not hearing elsewhere. Thank you. Amen. We're doing it, Gons. Hosts Basil and Gons have great chemistry, and their humorous banter helps balance out the unavoidable heaviness of many of today's news topics. The fact that both are committed Christians explains why they are able to bring each topic to listeners from a God-centered biblical worldview perspective. This podcast is truly one of a kind, and the community that has formed around it is wonderful. Highly recommend. The most thoughtful reviews I have ever seen, Gonzo. One more here. Let me see.
Very nice.
Coffee for MC is a great one. Just a couple more here, and then we'll move on. 5 stars. The Original J Man says 5 stars. 105 stars review. These guys rock. 4 exclamation points. Thank you, the Original J Man. Thank you. Original. And then here we have 5 stars from the Original Muffinator, the best podcast in the world. The pros of pros. The make something as depressing as the news and make it fun and entertaining. I never miss a show, and you shouldn't either. If you want to know the truth, listen to Basil and Gons. Thank you, the Original Muffinator. And that'll do it for today. I'll be spreading these out a little bit more next week because we have some catching up to do. But thank you. And I sincerely request you, dear listener, Paul from St. Paul, Minnesota. Yes. I'm looking at you through the camera.
Yeah,
Paul from St. Paul, I'm looking at you through your phone camera. You didn't think I could do this, could you? You thought you were listening to a pre-recorded podcast, but really I've hacked your phone. I've hacked your life, Paul, and I'm waiting for that review. So thank you. I will eagerly await Paul from St. Paul's review and the rest of you. And that'll do it, Gons. That is it. That is the show. Are you good?
I think so.
Okay, thank you.
I feel scared for Paul from St. Paul.
Paul from St. Paul. No, he's a great guy. He works hard. He takes care of his family. Yes, he's an upright Christian man, and I think we should all strive to be more like Paul from St. Paul. Except for the one thing that Paul from St. Paul has not left a rating and a review yet. Well, this would truly bring him to the next level.
My concern is what social engineering took place for you to place the ability to see him. Was it a
There's no social engineering. I hacked him. I'm in my cave. I got my black hoodie on. I've got
is usually a social engineering product. So.
Got the green computer code falling vertically on my computer screen. Right. Like hacking, like regular hackers do. Thank you, Paul from St. Paul. Thank you, Jam, for the links.
Oh, and, Jam, before you move away from Jam, real quick, because Jam has been, thank you, Jam, again, for keeping us updated on the situation in Brazil, the politics there.
Yes.
And to his point that, there's some stuff going on, the headline that came out from Washington Post is just fantastic. It came out not fantastic in terms of the actual story, but just to summarize what's happening in Brazil real quick. The Washington Post headline, thank you, Jam, "The Cannibal versus the Satanist. Toxic politics is poisoning Brazil." You thought it was bad choosing the right-left paradigm here in America? What about the cannibal versus the Satanist? What would you go with, Basil? Are you cannibal or are you Satanist?
See, that's what you got to learn in Brazil. They're two sides of the same coin. I'll tell you what.
Man.
Thank you, Jam. Yes, we're going to look into this Brazil thing a little bit more.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to the show. Thanks for being gracious with me over the past 5 weeks, as so many things have kept me from fully engaging. And I'm glad to be back. And hopefully I'll be at 100% by Monday. But until then, share the show. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Share it with your friends, families, dogs, families, friends. But you don't have to do it any normal way. You can do it any way you want. You can really let your light shine. Don't hide it under a bushel. I talk to eccentric billionaires all the time about how they can do their part to tell the worldwide public about this show. So few of them actually take my advice on this, but I'm going to say we'll take a little hint from Elon. And he brought the kitchen sink for some reason, that nobody is quite sure. We're letting it sink in or something. So along those same lines, I recommend everybody. You don't have to be a billionaire to do this. You can be, it's a regular human being. You could be a podcaster. You could be a barista. You could be a plumber. Probably actually especially effective if you're a plumber. Everybody listening to my voice right now, go out, get yourself a
plumber.
Get yourself a loose piece of plumbing. Just any old loose piece of plumbing. Could be a sink, could be a bathtub, could be a drinking fountain. Honestly, just a little piece of pipe will do, and start carrying it everywhere you go. See, one guy carrying a sink into a business, that's just weird and crazy and tweetable. But if we get 14 million people all carrying around kitchen sinks, somebody is going to ask why, especially because they think it's going to get them a scoop on some movement, some powerful social movement about saving water and the climate and Elon or something. Eventually somebody will ask one of you, why indeed do you have a sink chained around your neck, and why are you here at a Starbucks trying to pay for your latte with little pieces of ceramic that you're chipping off of the sink and sort of using the ceramic pieces as some sort of post-apocalyptic value trading system. And you'll say, it's just, they'll say, oh, okay, well, let me help you. Is it because of climate change? Is it because of Antarctica? Are you trying to make a point about how billionaires have sort of become living gods amongst the mortals and, affect trends and forces that cause metaphoric hurricanes that can hurt the way that people live their lives on a day to, and you say, kinda like that. And they say, well, what is it? And you say, well, this weird guy on the internet who has googly eyes on a virtual reality headset does a podcast, and he told me to do it, and actually he said he would send me money in the mail if I did. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, I will send you money in the mail if you start carrying around a sink. I'm not really going to send the money, but I need to tell you this so that you can tell the reporter. And then suddenly, the reporter will be reporting across the country and the world that some rogue, googly-eyed menace has convinced people that they need to carry around sinks and to, I don't know, listen to a podcast or something, right? What?
To get paid.
Yeah, they get paid. Right, exactly. It's a worldwide pyramid scheme made of sink bits, and boom, all the attention is off of cryptocurrency, off of Elon, off of that, and will be solely centered around the impending legal troubles that certainly this will cause me and my family. So there's just one way to do it. You don't got to do it that way. You can do it any way you want, but we call it rattling cages. And if you need any more instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to him, grab him by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Bella.
Even better, we need to harness the momentum of the sink milieu. Go grab yourself some googly eyes and start sticking it on every single sink you see. Take a picture, and then we'll I don't know, we'll take over Twitter. I think that's how you take over Twitter. All right, everybody,
we need a hashtag. Googly eyes, googly sink.
Yeah, we'll workshop it. That's a good start, though, Guns. No ideas are bad ideas. You got any last words?
Yeah, I just want to say that, first off, everyone have a great weekend. But also, the unironic irony with Elon doing the let it sink in and then carrying around a sink. I just warn everybody, when he starts making the joke, hey, just chip in. Just chip in, guys. Just beware.
Oh, for Neuralink.
Just beware.
Get chipped.
Just beware. Yeah.
I see. Got it.
He'll make it fun and memeful, but it'll actually be the arrival of the Antichrist.
Trending update. Okay. Musk is trending, obviously, but also staged. Is trending.
Staged sink?
Staged. The sink, let it sink in, is staged. I don't know. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Oh, head to Canary Cry Supply Drop. Go sign up. Get your calendar. Bunch of bonus stuff. Do it before December. Okay, here we go. Think outside the cage. Whee!
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
Oh no, the Canary boys are on to me again. Let me call my lizard friends, and we will address this.
If you could take your human form during these meetings, that would be...
Vaccines lowering the population. Oh, we got the microchip.
Epstein, yeah, we knew that was going to show up.
Oh, wait. What is it? What is Canary Cry News? What is Canary Cry News? Vaccines lowering the population. Oh, we got the microchip.
Epstein, yeah, we knew that was going to show up.
And your head's on hold. You can buy and you can sell. The only problem is eternity as well. Tribulation, that situation. Every knee will bow and every tongue will confess. This was only a song. Tribulation, that situation. Every knee will bow, and every tongue will confess who the real God is. Who the real God is. Who the real God is. Tribulation, bad situation. Every knee will bow, and every tongue will confess who the real God is. Who the real God is. Who the real God is. Who the real God is.
Armageddon's on the way.
When the news of the day gets to feeling like a maze, it's okay, don't be afraid if you don't know what to say. Canary, cry awaits. When your brain's in a haze and a headline days, come on to head my way, I can help you out the cage. Canary, cry awaits. Canary, cry awaits. Oh, canary, cry awaits. Oh, the world's changing every day, each and every way you turn, there's another thing to learn. Reading in between the lines, thanking Jesus for our lives, and nice to see His glory shining like the sun. Run the race until it's done. Come on, everyone. Canary, cry awaits. Oh, canary, cry awaits. When your brain's in a haze and a headline days, Just come on, I had my way. I can help you out the cage. Canary, cry away.
This is the United States of America, for God's sake.
Goodbye, everybody. And that's the end. And everyone says, oh, that was fun. Bye, 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 bye. I'm out of here. Bye.
CanaryCryRadio.com/support.